Bat Family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Make sure you visit our website, holybatcast.com, or find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast, you will find us. If you love the show, you want to help support us, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And a big old Christmas thank you and hug to all our patrons out there. You guys are amazing. Got to give a shout out to a new one, Carly Gallagher. Carly, thank you so much for becoming a patron. I think Carly might have already been a patron. I think she just upped her pledge, which is awesome. Why would you do that? But thank you for doing that. So thank you, Carly, and thank you again to all our patrons. You guys are amazing. We couldn't do without you, and you make our lives just a little bit easier. So thank you, guys. We are part of the Real Fans Podcast Network, so if you're looking for other shows to enjoy, you can check those out at rf4rm.com. I'm going to give a quick shout out to a new podcast that is joining our network. It's a podcast called Fan Fatales. It's two young ladies, Gabby and Emma, who cover all things geek culture, and they reached out because they're big fans of our shows, and they were like, we want to be part of the network, and Lord knows we could use more female voices on this network, so we're working on getting them on the site at rf4rm.com, but in the meantime, if you're looking for the female perspective on more geek stuff like Harry Potter and Disney and Batman and Marvel and Star Wars, etc., you can check them out. Again, it's Fan Fatales, and most recently they did a 3-parter on Christmas. So, I like that. So if you've already gotten through all the Real Fans Christmas episodes.
We know how they got involved with the network now, don't we?
Yeah.
He says we want to promote the female perspective, but the truth is, hey, we did a Christmas episode, and he's like, you're in.
There's nothing wrong with sucking up a little bit. I'll totally take it. 3-part Christmas episode, great. So yeah, I'm going to listen to those over the next few days. So I'm looking forward to that. So again, check out Gabby and Emma at Fan Fatales. Just search for it where you get your podcasts. And then hopefully, if I get my act together, they will start showing up at rf4rm.com, where all the other shows are. As always, you know me, I'm Andy DiGenova, here again to talk about Batman and DC, as I always do. You can check me out on Twitter or on Instagram. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. This is our annual Christmas episode of this show. So not only of Real Fans are we doing Christmas episodes, but we always try to do something festive on Holy BatCast, and here we are. Today we're going to talk about Batman Noel. It's something that's been on our to-do list for, I guess, 5 years. Someone was nice enough and tweeted and goes, yeah, I remember you guys first talked about doing this in 2016. So thank you for reminding me. It's been 5 whole years, but it's finally time, and it's the 10th anniversary of Batman Noel, so we thought that was perfect timing to finally cover it for our Christmas episode. Also, we're going to do another episode of Batman Beyond. We're on a streak, guys. We're knocking these out. I'm so excited. And then, of course, we'll check in with you guys and open the Wayne Manor mailbox. Joining me for all this, you just heard his voice. He's always here. Well, more here these days anyway, and it's good. He has 7 Christmas trees in his house, so he does make me look like a Grinch. I'm impressed, mostly. Yeah, I'm not even mad. I'm impressed. It's Jamie Drewley. Hey, Jamie.
Happy Yuletide season, everyone. It's we're getting down to the wire, man. Christmas comes this time each year, but somehow it always sneaks up on us.
I know, right? I was thinking that just like yesterday as I was still fussing with my lights. I'm like, shit, Christmas is next week already. I haven't watched anything I want to watch. I have watched 800 Hallmark Christmas movies, but as far as like real movies, no, I've not watched almost any.
I used to work with this girl at the phone company. We worked at a contact center, just real quick. And, we worked in like billing and collections, and these people called in. It was like, probably late January, early February to get this bill settled up. And the lady on the phone, I could hear what she was saying, but I had to hear the other half of the story later. She was like, yeah, I'm sorry, I got behind on this bill. Christmas snuck up on me this year. And this woman said, bold-faced, plain as could be, ma'am, you're aware Christmas comes on the 25th of December each year, right?
Yeah.
It's like, ouch.
I mean, accurate, but also I get it.
I do. In my old age, I truly understand the whole Christmas sneaking up on me, because it doesn't seem, 6 days, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. And I'm still messing with the lights. I told you. Damn
To be
it.
fair, you did say this morning that you were done, and you said it was probably going to take you till Christmas Eve. So you did give yourself a nice
If I
pad 5
stick,
days there.
yeah, if I stick to my guns, I'm done now. I'm done. A week out. Oh my God, though. Jeez, it's a gift that keeps on giving. I didn't realize how much hard work this is.
But it's such a good time.
It
and you'll
is.
love seeing those lights at night, especially when you're living those pleasant temperatures like Florida has, and you can go outside with a soda instead of a boiling hot cup of coffee or tea to look at the lights and not freeze to death.
Well, yesterday I literally had to. I had some lights to fix because one of the strings burnt out, and so I was like, "Shit, here I go again." Which is what gave me the excuse to get up there and fix some things that I'd been wanting to fix anyway. But I was going to do it around noontime, and I'm like, it's 85 degrees. I'm going to wait until the sun starts going down. So that's how warm it is still here.
Said no person in Indiana putting up Christmas lights ever.
Yeah, it was a little too warm for me. But anyway, yeah, that's ongoing. So Merry Christmas to you. Congrats on 7 Christmas trees.
Well, they're not technically all mine. You know, my kids each have one in their room and so on. So.
Well, I'm going to get there. More goals for the future.
Like I'll go over to Andy's house for Christmas next year. There'll be a Christmas tree in the bathroom. There'll be a Christmas tree in the garage. He's like, I got you, sucker. I got you.
That is the long-term goal. I mean, even Catherine has said, she's like, I want a Christmas tree for every room. And I was like, I do too. One thing at a time. But I think the outside of my house is very respectable, having only lived here for 3 months.
I agree. I think it's beautiful. The stuff that you've sent me anyway, I think looks great.
Thanks. I've worked hard on it, but like I tweeted it out and people and being like, "Hey, I'm pretty proud of this." And there's still a couple people. Well, you need a little more up here. And I was, yeah, I know.
Well, since we're on the subject and it's the season anyway, let's get into it. Sorry, we'll get to the guest introduction in just a moment.
Poor Jay's just sitting there being like, I'm just going to pretend I'm not here.
He's got the patience of Job, man. I love this guy to death because most people would be like, well, this guy shut up already. And Jay's probably just sitting over there going,
Jay's like, I'm here to talk about Batman. I don't give a shit about your Christmas lights.
I'm waiting. I'm politely for my introduction. So
that's okay. He is here. He's being very patient. I'm so sorry.
We're just giving you an opportunity to get into your second cup, Jay.
Yeah, go get another coffee. I think it's going to be a minute.
But no, there's something to be said. I mean, I love a good Christmas light display. I did. In fact, my family did our annual tradition where we all pile everyone in the car with a nice hot beverage of their choice, and we drive around all over town and look at various Christmas lights in different neighborhoods. It's a wonderful tradition. I recommend everybody do it with their family or loved ones. It's one of the best times you can have, and it costs you nothing but some gas and some time. It's a great thing. But there are some displays that I would consider, and to each their own. Do it how you want to do it. They're obnoxious. The amount of stuff that they have and the way that it's done, but it's still a good time to see people celebrating in their own ways. But for me personally, I like some restraint and some lots of lights is cool, but the way that you put them up has something to do with how much it appeals to me. And, frankly, I think your decorations are wonderful. Like, for Halloween, I always share a video of how our decorations are going up. And we've got some of the big, 10-foot inflatables and some of the stuff. And I understand some of our Halloween stuff can be a little gaudy in some people's perspective. And that's cool. I personally think it probably is too, but I still enjoy it. But like for Christmas, we don't do the inflatables. We tone things down a little bit and we put some restraint on it. And that's personally how we like to do it. But,
you want to be respectful when you're celebrating the birth of Santa.
That too.
I think I got that right.
You're in the ballpark.
Okay.
You're in the ballpark. But yeah, I mean, driving around all over your local areas, I mean, you'll see some people that go, Clark Griswold's a pussy, and you'll see some people that are, maybe have a wreath and some candles in their window, and it looks just as nice, even though it's a completely different type of display. We enjoy all of it to some degree or another.
Oh, good.
So that's my perspective. Y'all do your own thing.
Yeah. I want people to stop and look, but I don't want it to be Vegas. Like there's trying.
Vegas. That's nice. I like that.
It's fine line.
Did you happen to get a package yesterday, Jamie?
I did.
Okay, good. Just making
sure. And I'm going to tell you the same thing I told Brendan when he asked me if I got his package. I'm like, yes. He's like, you can go ahead and open this, this, and this. I'm like, no, you guys always give me crap and I open your presents before Christmas. So now, from now on, when I get something from either of the two of you, I'm not opening it until Russian Orthodox Christmas.
Oh, I don't even know when that is.
January 14th, I believe.
Okay, that seems like too long.
Yes.
Hopefully,
I think Christmas morning is just fine.
Or anything perishable in there, but
I give you permission to go ahead and open those presents, Jamie.
all right, I might do that after we get off the show.
There is a perishable animal in there. So
how many legs does it have? Because that might depend on how soon I open the package.
it's a reindeer in a Batman costume.
Okay, that I can open, because if it's got more than 6 legs, there's no way I'm ever opening it.
That's Brendan's package. It's an Australian spider for your very own.
Don't
We had
trust
enough
it.
of these.
Anyway, Jay, sorry guys, you've heard him now. He is here. He's patient. He's very patient with us. It's Jay Yaws, because Brendan. Listen, y'all, listen to this. Brendan last week was like, hey, are we going to do a Christmas episode? And I was like, yeah, we are. And I was like, hey, okay, all weekend, Brendan, the world is your oyster. Christmas episode. I want to make sure you're on it. He goes, oh, I can't. Why'd you ask? Why'd you ask?
It's
I
nice
think
to
he
be
just
invited
wanted the
sometimes.
prestige of the invite. I don't think it was actually something he wanted to do. He just wanted the chance to reject us.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's it. He's fired. So it doesn't matter. Merry Christmas, you little. But yeah, so we'll never hear from him again. But that's fine. He can still send us gifts. Anyway, do you know what he did send? He sent this is why I still forgive him and love him. He sent a little Batgirl outfit for the baby.
Magnificent.
Yeah. So first one, he was like in under the wire. He couldn't wait to send it.
Now we have to name it Barbara, don't we?
I mean, well, it helps.
I hope you do name it Barbara, because I don't want to be on the hook for that whole paying for college if you name her Leslie Tompkins DeGenova thing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that offer. Nope, it's Leslie.
Brendan might be buttering you up to name her Brenda.
Oh,
and I don't know if you want to go down that route.
Yeah, we were gonna name you after your mother, but we instead named you after my true love in Australia, who I've never actually met. Yeah, as you do. Anyway, Jay, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Christmas. Thanks for making the time for us this weekend to celebrate some Batman Christmas.
Thank you for having me on again. I think this is my 4th time, so I'm gunning for that 5-timers club,
yes!
Like Christopher Walken and Tom Hanks, which was SNL, but they've never been on Holy BatCast. So who's the real winner here?
I think it's you. We
so.
pay more.
So. Yes, you. Wait, what?
I'm sending you a spider too. What? Everyone gets a spider.
The Christmas spider.
It's new. We're starting a new tradition.
Come back from overseas with all sorts of new traditions, and all right. I like it. I like it.
No, I love the idea of the 5-timers club. I think that's great. I always loved when they did that on SNL.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, let's get started for real here. It is Christmas. We want to read one of the most famous and already, I think, beloved Batman Christmas stories. And I was surprised when we were talking about this that Jamie went, it's 10 years old this year. And I was like, shoot, it's only 10 years old? In my mind, it was so much older than that. But yeah, it's only 10. Still a baby. But the fact that I feel like it's become so beloved in 10 years, to the point where, I've started reading it every year. And then I know a lot of other Batman fans do the same. I think that's a huge, tribute, or it says a lot about how embraced this story is. But that is Batman Noel. So let's do that.
Not to show my hand before the wager, but isn't that what a definition of a timeless classic is? It could have been made yesterday, or it could have been made 50 years ago, and you really don't know?
Yeah, I guess that's true. So there we go. 10 years old. Let's take a look at Batman Noel. Batman Noel, this was released on November 2nd of 2011. So, yep, it's already 10 years old as of November. And this is Lee Bermejo's baby. He wrote it, he did the art, he inked it. Colors were done by Barbara Chiardo. Yeah, and letters by Todd Klein. And I reviewed this, it must have been 5 years ago or so, on, was it Everyone Loves the Drake? I think. Oh man, I don't even remember. So that's terrible.
That's a sign of old age, you know.
Yeah, I think so.
And the past, year and a half has been like 5.5 years individually. So I mean, it's easy to lose track.
Yeah, I can't
he raises a valid point.
So now that it's 10 years old, it's time for us to finally talk about it. I've talked about it on other podcasts, but I want to talk about it on this podcast. Hear your guys' thoughts as well. So, I guess we'll treat it like a movie or any other story. We'll stay spoiler free. I don't think it's that spoilery, because this is Batman's A Christmas Carol. So I would say the first thing that I'm shocked at is it took till 2011 for someone to do A Christmas Carol with Batman.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like kind of a no-brainer, right? Like, I mean, everyone's had A Christmas Carol. Everyone, right? Fred Flintstone and Mr. Magoo and Jim Carrey and the Muppets, and like Batman feels like a little late to the party. Feels like this should have been done a long time ago. I actually just read on one of the old DC superhero Christmas specials. It was like a Teen Titans A Christmas Carol, and that was from like the 80s. So Teen Titans got here before Batman. Anyway,
a hot commodity in the 80s. So,
yeah.
I mean, that makes sense, but even still, yeah, I'm kind of surprised that it didn't happen until, 75 years or whatever into Batman's publication history. That's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. So Jamie, why don't you start? Just your overall thoughts of Batman Noel.
You know what? This was my first time reading this book. Ever.
Really?
Andy had brought it up years ago about wanting to cover it on the podcast, apparently about 5 years ago. And I hadn't even really heard of it at that point. Shame on me, right? But I was like, yeah, we should do that. And then we just keep getting sidetracked with other things. And, eventually it just got to the point where it's like, hey, what are we going to do for the Christmas episode? Well, it's maybe finally time to cover this. We figured out it was the 10th anniversary. It was like good a time as any. And I guess I'd just been saving it since the idea was first introduced to now to read it for the show. And I mean, I'm kind of sad I took this on to read it because I really enjoyed this book. I'm one who enjoys many different iterations of the Christmas Carol story. I think it's a wonderful story that can be translated in a number of different ways and still keep a core set of ideas and moral indicators and the heart behind the story and everything else kind of in the same place. And I think this one kind of fits with that same mold, and I enjoyed it. I think Bermejo is an unbelievable talent. The guy's got skills the likes of which most people in this world can never even aspire to. And it turns out I think his writing skill isn't very far behind his art skill as far as I'm concerned after reading this book either.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
All right. Jay, what about you?
So I feel like I might be a little more of the control group person in this review because I've read this twice and it is good and I like it, but I don't love it for a couple of reasons that are mostly my own baggage that I brought into it. One is Bermejo is a phenomenal artist. He just has a style that I don't always vibe with certain aspects of different superhero aesthetics, which we'll get into, but also is the fact that it is A Christmas Carol, and I've never read the actual Christmas Carol story, so that's on me. But I mean, I've seen it so much in so much media that it does get kind of repetitive. So anytime someone does their take on A Christmas Carol, it's got to be like a slam dunk with every aspect of it to kind of hold my attention. So the first time I read it, I was just like, okay, this is okay. It's Batman, A Christmas Carol. It's fine. Found out later it was like widely praised, and I was kind of a little bit behind the curve on my own kind of muted admiration for it. So this was the second time I've read it. So I came into it knowing that I had some issues with the story, but it'd been a while since I've read it. So it was kind of like reading it for the first time again. And I appreciated it more knowing what it was supposed to be. I still feel like there are some things that don't quite work as well as they should. But I mean, as a Batman Christmas story and a take on A Christmas Carol, it works really well. And it's definitely something that, stands up as holiday reading. I just don't have it quite on as high a pedestal as others seem to, but I guess that's okay.
All right, that's interesting.
You know what? I ain't even going to be mad about that because number one, I think The Killing Joke is one of the most overrated Batman stories ever written. Mm-hmm. So I understand not loving something that everybody else does. So perfectly cool with that. Everybody's got their own thing. No worries there. But also I want everybody to realize as I heap praise upon this book, when it comes to holiday stuff, I am very forgiving about things. I can let a lot of things slide because when I get in the holiday spirit, I tend to be a lot more forgiving and graceful and enjoying more things. And I'm probably going to be more generous in a lot of cases to holiday films and stories and everything else than I would normally be with just everyday day-to-day life. But, as Bill Murray says at the end of Scrooge, we should all want to be like Christmas every single day. And I should want to be that positive about everything. So maybe that's something I should aspire to. I don't know. But, maybe as much as Jay says he's going to be the control for not loving this book as much, maybe I love it more than it really deserves because of my stance on general Christmas properties.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm very much the same way. When it comes to Christmas, I'm a pretty easy lay. Like, I forgive a lot if something's Christmassy. And we're talking Batman and Christmas, which, two of my favorite things. So I'm already in the bag for it. I actually agree with both of you. I don't think it's like some sort of unqualified masterpiece or something, but I still really like it. I still think it's really good. Yes, everyone has taken their crack at A Christmas Carol. It is one of the most retold stories in history. I mean, I think you might be able to make an argument that it is the most retold story in history. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but I'm just taking a guess because every TV show, every sitcom, every cartoon, like everyone's done a version of A Christmas Carol, which goes back to my earlier point is I'm shocked that no one has done it for Batman. I wonder if that was how this started. If Lee Bermejo was like, wait, no one's done Batman as A Christmas Carol? Are you kidding me? Come on. That's just low-hanging fruit. I'll do it. That's fine. So I do wonder if that's what happened. But I do love the Christmas Carol story, and I like the different spins on A Christmas Carol. I think that's part of the fun of it is how do you take this story that everyone knows and we know, beat by beat by heart, and how do you fit it into the different IPs that then you put it in? So I feel like it's very creative the way they do it with Batman. I don't think it's perfect. Like to your point, Jay, I think there are some things they could actually have gone deeper on, and I think that's maybe my biggest criticism is that it's all there, all the beats are there, but I think you could have gone deeper into it. And I think that I might as well bring this up now because I know it's going to come up, is I do feel like this is a prime candidate for an animated adaptation, but if you were to just do the book, it probably wouldn't be long enough. And so that would really give you an opportunity to flesh it out a little more, to have a little more detail and go a little deeper, because I think that's the only thing that really holds it back. Like you said, Jay, I do like Lee Bermejo's artwork, but not always. Like, it's not my favorite. I know for some people it is their pinnacle. It is their favorite DC artist, their favorite Batman artist is Lee Bermejo. And I respect that. And I even understand it. I don't necessarily feel that way. So I like it under certain circumstances, but not always. But for this, I love it. I love it for this story. I love the way he does Gotham at winter. I love the way he does Batman and Catwoman and Superman especially. There's a lot of amazing artwork in here. So for me, I feel like Bermejo's artwork, I love it under certain circumstances, and this is one of those circumstances where I was like, it just works so well for this story that I really love it in this context. And I think he is creative on how he does his spin on A Christmas Carol. So I do really like it. I look forward to it. I think the first time I read it was around 2016. So it was one that when it came out, I missed it. I just wasn't paying attention. Didn't even know it was a thing until I was invited on another podcast to review it. And then I went, oh, I don't know what this is. And so I read it and went, oh, okay, I see what you're doing here. And now I have enjoyed rereading it over the years. And I think I honestly have enjoyed it the more I've reread it. I think the first time I read it, I was a little confused. Just because, I don't know, it sort of stays ahead of you in a lot of ways. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoy it around the holidays. I'm a sucker for A Christmas Carol. So I'm probably a little more forgiving of it, just like Jamie said, but I do really like it. And I think that the artwork is beautiful. Like there are some shots in here where I'm like, especially I think of Gotham, like that opening shot of Gotham in the snow with like the Santa billboard, like that's great.
Yeah, like I love visually, at least, I love his style with, I mean, the architecture and the backgrounds and everything, and even the like average citizens in Gotham. I think it's phenomenal. My main qualm comes in with some of his other, not necessarily in this book, but there's still some aspects of it, but more just in how he renders superhero costumes and stuff. Which, I mean, we can get to into it at a later point, but about 90% of everything visually in this book, yes, I agree. It looks cold and beautiful, and yet warm at the same time, because you've got the snow falling on practically every page, and then you've got peeks into windows where people are by the fire and Christmas trees. It feels very seasonal, very welcoming in that regard. It's just like I said, my own baggage about his style that I kind of come to a point of appreciating and then can't get past it. But yeah, again, we can get into that later.
Okay.
I do want to give a shout out before I forget, real quick, to Martin Freeman for playing Bob Cratchit in this story.
Oh, okay. Now
I couldn't look at the rendering of that. I couldn't look at that character without thinking to myself, God, they really drew this guy to look like Martin Freeman, whether intentional or not.
I can kind of see it, yeah. Nose is a little bit bigger, but
yeah, that's true. But
I could see it if they were to do this live. I wouldn't say no to that casting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, then just make it live action. Cast him. So anyway, we all really like it, to varying degrees, but we like it. It's definitely worth your time. It's definitely worth a read during Christmas. So, Batman Noel, we want to speak freely. If you're worried about spoilers, you can fast forward. Again, it's A Christmas Carol, so you kind of know what's going to happen. But just in case, I want to get the spoiler warning out there because I want us to be able to speak freely. So, spoiler warning is in effect in 3, 2, 1. Okay.
As I'm spanning through here, I'll land in the middle instead of at the end or something for a change.
Oh, look at you. See, you're already changing your
39.
ways like Scrooge.
Page 39, Batman's like on top of a church looking and sees Catwoman, and the name of the store or whatever that is in front of him is Springs.
Yes. There are quite a few really cool Easter eggs in here. I don't know if you noticed that there's a moment where I think it's Batman. Batman ends up in a toy store, and there's like a little stuffed animal of the abominable snow monster, the Bumble from Rudolph. And there's also like a little stuffed Kermit the Frog, just because I feel like Kermit and the Muppets go together with Christmas a lot. I looked at the rest, and none of the other ones really jumped out at me, but I saw those. And then yes, the Springs Easter egg is pretty great. So there's a couple nice things like that throughout. Yeah, I'm looking at that toy store now. I see a Kermit, but then the rest is it's like a teddy bear and, a stuffed elephant, stuff like that.
Which page is that? I'm on, Jamie, I assume you're on DC Universe Infinite 2. That's what I'm reading it on.
Indeed.
Page 27 is on mine, but I'm not watching it. I'm not reading it on DC Universe. I own it digitally.
It's probably the same layout, but let me get back here. 30. You said 27, right?
Yeah.
scrolling through. I do like also, while I'm kind of backtracking trying to find it because I'm so ahead of there, I like seeing the different bat suits in the bat cave, like the 60s style one.
That's a
Exactly.
really cool
And you could
yeah.
see the like the first appearance with like the ears pointed to the side, and you can't see the gloves, but no doubt they'd be purple.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for stuff like that in any book, but especially here. Like I love seeing Bermejo's interpretation of not just the current bat suit, but also the ones that came before. I also love his design for the Robin suit.
Yes.
I think it's really great. It's a great sort of amalgamation of the original Dick Grayson Robin and the Tim Drake Robin with enough of its own personality, but it just feels a little more functional than the original Dick Grayson Robin. But I think he looks really good. I like it a lot.
Yeah, the yellow pants were a nice touch, and I want to say that was like the Earth 2 Robin from like the 70s, had like a yellow, like longer yellow pants. So having that red tunic with the short sleeves, but then the yellow leggings, that was a good not compromise, that's not the right word, but that was a good blending of the two styles there to make it look practical but still have a little bit of that super heroic flair in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to speak to just like the nods to not just A Christmas Carol, but to just Christmas in general, there's the subplot of Bob. I guess let me do a quick synopsis for people who have not read it. Maybe you're just listening and you're like, I don't need to read it. You guys will tell me. This is A Christmas Carol, and it is all told from the perspective of Bob Cratchit. But in this story, Bob Cratchit, he is a very, very, very low level employee, I guess, let's say, of the Joker. He's doing jobs for the Joker just to make some money. He doesn't like doing it. He hates doing it, but it's the only job he can find. So he's running money for the Joker. And he has a sick child, little Tim, of course, back at home. He's a single dad, and little Tim lives at home. And so he's doing these jobs for the Joker. He runs into Batman. Batman decides to use him as bait for the Joker because he's out trying to find him. So he tags him with a homing beacon. And so Bob's just trying to make it through Christmas and trying to do what he can for his sick son. Batman has no sympathy for Bob because he's like, he's a criminal. Sorry that he's a father, but by putting his father away, maybe the son will get scared straight, and then the son won't follow in his father's footsteps. He's also very sick. Batman's got a really bad cold, maybe pneumonia. And so as he's out there hunting the Joker using Bob as a pawn, he essentially hits the beats of A Christmas Carol. So we learn that, yes, in this version of the story, Robin has passed away. We assume it's Jason Todd. They don't acknowledge more than one Robin, but they talk about the one Robin that has died. So we assume that's Jason. At least that's the way I took it. Is that the way you guys took it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just assumed Dick. They didn't want to, muddy the waters and talk about Dick. So,
well, I mean, this is could be set in the Zack Snyder universe too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you could take it that way too, because they never say which Robin it is. But Robin has passed away, so Robin sort of fits the. He serves the purpose of the Marley because it's an old partner who has since passed away. So he has a vision
which in and of itself to me is kind of a brilliant stroke.
Oh, totally! It's great. It's perfect. I love that. When he talks about the father and the partner in simpler times, and how working with that partner, things were different, and now that partner is gone, how he has gotten cold and hard and less sympathetic, and then it makes a lot of sense for the dead Robin to be the Marley.
I agree.
To
but
address the thing with the toy store just real quick. That is on page 22 on the DC Universe layout. So, Jay, it would appear we're going to be about 5 pages behind whatever page number he says.
Yeah, because they're numbering the splash, like the double page spreads as one page on DC Universe. So it might be different in the Comixology. But yeah, found the Bumble, found Kermit, and nothing else really sticks out. There's a cool elephant, which I just like elephants, so whatever.
Well, everybody always wants to address the elephant in the room, right?
Yeah. And then some creepy elf-looking thing in that panel at the bottom right. So yeah, that's Good call, Andy. I don't think I caught that when I first read it. With the Robin thing, I agree, but feel like they could have done this better.
Yeah.
We can. I mean, I can get more specific later if you want to keep going on with the synopsis, or I could just kind of lay it out right now.
You can lay it out now, but I agree with you already. I think conceptually it's perfect. I think it's like Jamie said. I think it's brilliant of going, oh, the dead Robin is the Marley. That's who's going to warn him to change his ways. But he doesn't. Like, it's so quick. It's just a vision. There's no dialogue, and I feel like this is one of those moments where you got to go deeper, where you got to give us something to chew on. But instead it's just a silent moment where he thinks he sees Robin and then it goes away. I feel like there needs to be a scene. There needs to be interaction. That's my thought. I don't know if that's where you were going.
A little bit, but even then it goes even further into the representations of the quote unquote ghosts that he runs into. Because using Robin, I think, was great, especially if it was going to be Jason. I feel like for it to be more effective and maybe even more in line with the kind of formula of the Christmas Carol story, I feel like all of the messengers that he was going to speak with after that needed to be another Robin too. I feel like the one for the past could have been Nightwing, because he's the original, the one that goes all the way back to the beginning. Jason can be the kind of the harbinger, the Marley, because he's dead. He fits that mold. He can be the one that after his passing, he got hardened, things changed, and he just fell down a dark hole that he needs to get out of. And then the Robin of the present could have been Tim Drake, not just because, I love Tim Drake, you love Tim Drake, we all love Tim Drake, but
everyone loves the Drake.
Everyone loves
is what I've heard.
Yes, and rightfully so. But he could be the one that is the ghost of Christmas Present, the one that's there with Batman, that's trying to get him to break down the the hardness of his heart, and the one that's trying to show him, hey, this is not the right way to live. You need to change. And then the quote unquote ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, which I learned from the Muppet Christmas Carol episode of Disorder.
Yeah.
You should not call it the Ghost of Christmas Future.
Ghost of Christmas Future. You're just outing yourself as a casual fan. It's Christmas Yet to Come.
It could have been a Damien, because he represents going forward with the legacy of Batman and Robin. I feel like that would have been more effective and more in line with having a dead Robin as the harbinger. Otherwise, with the characters they do use as the ghosts, I feel that maybe if he had a vision of maybe one of his parents, that would have made a little bit more sense thematically with what they're doing here. So it's almost like they had Bermejo had two really good ideas and didn't go far enough with either of them, or he only had half. I'm not saying he had half of a good idea, but he had half of the great ideas, just he didn't have the beginning of one and the ending of another. So it kind of muddies it a little bit with some of the characters that he includes in here that are fun to see, but I don't think it quite realizes the potential of what he's wanting with the choices he made.
That's an interesting take, because I didn't think that at all. I do like the characters he chose to signify each of the ghosts. I think it works for the way he's doing it, but I do think your way would have also worked. I just think it's a different route to take, but yeah. I think it could be really cool. Was Damien a thing in 2011? When was Damien introduced?
Yeah, Damien was introduced in I think he was introduced in about 2006. And
is he that old?
Yeah, this would have been right before the New 52. So or released, what you said, November 2011. So the New 52 had been out for a couple of months.
I'm a look when Damian Wayne was introduced.
And Damien had been Robin with the Dick Grayson Batman for at least a year at that point. And then when they did the the reboot with the New 52, he was Robin in the Batman and Robin comic. So
2006. 2006. You're right. That's older than I thought. I didn't realize he'd been around that long.
He's very humble about it, and he'll, of course, every time you drop something at his feet, he'll tell you he's just really fast with Google. But the truth is, Jay's a comics encyclopedia. So.
If anyone's gonna know, so look at that. I learned a little something today. Damien's been around since 2006. Wow.
I dropped my headphones, so I didn't hear that. So
well, I will say this is that could have worked, but I also think Carrie Kelly could have worked for the Christmas Yet to Come.
See, now that makes me sad. Why would you say that?
Well, because Dark Knight Returns is one of multiple possible futures for Batman, and it's not necessarily the best one for him. So I don't know. Carrie Kelly could work.
That's it. I'm texting Jim Lee as soon as this show's over. We're going to make this happen.
So I mean, going down that route, Damien, since he was the Robin at the present, he could have been the one of the Christmas present. Then Carrie Kelly.
No, don't remove Tim for Damien. That is a cardinal sin. Never remove Tim for Damien.
Okay.
So I like Damien.
DC did that for the better part of a decade, and I'm not okay with it.
I'm not going to say I like Damien more than Tim, but I'm one of those people. I've really come to be fond of Damien in his own way. But to be fair, I missed a lot of Damien's early stuff, which is apparently why a lot of people can't stand it.
Oh, he's a huge turd basket in there. So it's rightful hate for him. He's still a turd basket, but you kind of love him for it because he at least tries to make changes sometimes. But yeah, Tim is the superior Robin. So forgiveness, Andy, because I've gone on my own tirades about Tim Drake erasure. So
exactly.
I apologize.
Don't do it. So that's an interesting take of each of the ghosts being a Robin. I think that is a cool idea again, but I don't necessarily see it as a mistake of Bermejo to go the way he did. But I think
I just think it could have been tighter. What he does works for what he's doing. It's just, there could have been some different takes here that might have been a little bit tighter of a story.
Sure.
And I will agree with that. I mean, that as much as I do really like this story, and I probably would go so far as to say I love it, but again, I'm very forgiving of holiday themed things. There are a couple things that I would have rather a different choice had been made than what it had. But I also think that Bermejo deliberately goes out of his way, and I mentioned this earlier when I was kind of giving my forethoughts. Everybody kind of does their own thing with A Christmas Carol, but as long as they maintain that core idea and story and heart, I never really have an issue with that. And I really think Bermejo goes out of his way to own this as its own thing, even though it's clearly set in that fashion. It's still very much his story, not Dickens' story. And I think he's kind of going out of his way in a couple places to really push that home. And I don't have any issue with that because of what I said before.
I do think he finds a really nice balance of telling a Batman story through the lens of A Christmas Carol, because it could go too far one way or the other. But I think that, he does a good job of doing both, and I think serving both of those ideas in the writing. I will say one of the things that the first time I read it, like I said, I was a little confused by is because they introduce Bob and they go, oh, he worked for this old miser named Scrooge. And when they say that, he opens a note from the Joker that's like, go to this toy store, drop off this thing, get the money. I immediately was like, oh, in this story, Joker is Scrooge.
Same.
And I was very confused. And then as I read on, I was like, oh, wait. Are they trying to say Batman is Scrooge? Oh, they are.
I actually had to back up a couple pages at one point because I'm like, oh, wait, did we shift this here?
Yeah.
Oh, now I get what's happening.
Yeah. Even knowing what happens and how, the different the different analogs of the Christmas Carol characters. Even I was taken aback by it on this read through because I was like, wait, I thought Batman was supposed to be Scrooge, and like at the very end, I'll be Jamie here. I'll jump to the very end. At the very end, you see that he gets like some paperwork and gets to work for the Wayne Foundation or Wayne Enterprises or whatever. So it's almost like he's telling the story of I worked for this guy named Scrooge. Back then he was like this. Now he's not. But yeah, it is kind of confusing at the beginning of the story because it does seem like the way that scene is paced and laid out, that Joker is the Scrooge of the story when he's really not.
Yeah, and that's just it. Is I think it works the way they do it because throughout the story, Bob is quote unquote working for Batman in that he is this bait for the Joker, and so it's Christmas, but he's got this homing thing on him, and he's out there serving as live bait. Batman says it, and I'm like, oh, I get it. So he is working for him, but the way Bermejo tells you that at the beginning and when he chooses to tell you that, I don't think quite match up. I think there was probably a way to do it that's a little less confusing, because as it was, you go, oh yeah, he works for the Joker, so I guess Joker Scrooge, and no, that's not what he really means by it.
Well, now that we've opened up this topic, now I wonder, was it deliberate that he was trying to lead you one way and then, pull a switch on you later?
Yeah, it could be.
Or was it just kind of something that we all assumed, and he's like, I know you may have assumed this, but that's not really where I was going. I mean, yeah. I'm curious to see what the motivations were, or even, I only read this one time because even though it's a relatively brisk read because of the way it's structured with the letters and everything, it is still 96 pages.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I only had time to get one reading in.
But, I think you're right. Yeah, maybe that's what he was going for, was a little bit of misdirection, to be like, he wants you to think the Joker is Scrooge, and then we're like, wait a minute, Batman is Scrooge.
But then I have to question, if that is the case, why make the switch so early in the book instead of later on, presenting it in a mystery style, It's, yeah. I don't know if I'm making sense to anybody but me here, but I would think if that was the case, it would be revealed in like the last few pages that it was truly Bruce Wayne that was Scrooge or Batman instead of the Joker.
I honestly, I was flipping back and reading through, the pages where the Scrooge concept and name comes into play. Page 14 is where I think it's first mentioned, which is the page after Bob standing there, reading the note from the Joker. And then he says, oh yeah, that's right. Guy's name was Scrooge. What a name, huh? He goes on about Scrooge being a guy that doesn't trust anybody, didn't even want this guy to have a day off. But Batman is jumping around the rooftops above him and everything. So it's almost like he's trying to play it both ways, like make it seem like he's talking about the Joker and Batman before it kind of clicking. So on the next page, that double page spread there where Batman jumps down and finally confronts Bob. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say, just because the way it's played out almost seems like he didn't want it to be like this ongoing mystery, just wanted it to be clear that he's talking about Batman. But I don't know. It's just confusing in the way it's presented. So yeah, it could have been a little bit clearer there.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm curious how that'll play out when I actually sit down to read it again next year, because I'm going to probably try to make this at least an annual tradition sort of a thing, because it's obviously very Christmas themed. But I'm curious on a sequential reading if it plays out the same way, where it feels like Bermejo's trying to be tricky and he's just not as clever as he thinks, or if it's just an assumption that we all landed on. But it does kind of feel odd that all three of us kind of made a similar assumption, and it's not intentional,
Yeah. No, I do think there's a little bit of a misdirect going on there, but I will tell you, knowing it going in, it works a little better because you know what's going on. When we meet Bob and Timmy, and Bob's terrified because he ran into Batman, and so now he's scared of Batman and the Joker. I think this is another nod to Christmas, is Timmy has this dead little tree that he has tried to turn into a makeshift Christmas tree. And I've got to believe that's a nod to Charlie Brown Christmas.
It feels like it, yeah.
And he even says something, oh, yeah, I think it looks even better this way, something like that. But I thought that was another cool little Easter egg. When we're talking about
it's also a very sweet moment that kid's, he's not displeased with life. The life's kind of dealt him a bum hand to this point. They're in poverty or what have you, but a beer can, an army guy, and a broken bottle, and this kid's smiling. He's got a huge smile on his face, saying, "Dad, check out my Christmas tree." I think that's a sweet moment.
Yeah, and here's where Bermejo's art and style really works for me, because you feel Timmy's pain when Bob yells at him, and he just has that sullen, like crestfallen, look. Yeah. Like, Dad's upset again. I was just trying to be. Oh man, that's just heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Agreed. Well, and speaking again of the artwork, like the way Wayne Manor looks in this with the snow is fantastic. Like you said, you can almost feel the chill as you look at it. It's beautiful. I love the Batcave. I think Alfred looks a little wonky. There's like a weird image of him with like his lips look way too large. It's kind of odd.
I'm looking at the lower right corner of the page after the Wayne Manor shot, and
that's it.
He looks like somebody that just took a bad hit from a linebacker in the NFL.
Yeah,
his eyes are all messed up.
Exactly, it's his eyes and his lips. It's a very odd image of him. But then quickly after, there's this great splash page of Batman and Robin, talking about the past with Batman and Scrooge and his partner. That's an amazing piece of art of Batman and Robin.
I think that may be my favorite page in the whole book.
It's so great.
Too.
Yeah,
the moon above them, the buildings in the background, kind of that perspective of looking up at them. Robin got the smile on his face. Batman has that just majestic, real. I mean, to me, this is what Batman looks like, kind of a thing. And I know we can go back and forth on Bermejo's aesthetics, because truthfully, I felt it worse than Damn that I did in this book, but I still see it in that. The bat suit itself, I don't like it to be overly busy. And Bermejo does tend to draw it a little on the busy side with the seams and the buckles and stuff like that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just not my personal taste. I prefer more of like the gray suit with the yellow oval that's on this page here,
Yeah, agreed.
If you'll allow me, that's kind of my the second qualm, amount of baggage that I brought into it just with Bermejo style. Because yes, like you said, Jamie, Batman Damned, and even in Joker, the overly designed bat suits. I'm going to make what may be an unfair comparison here, but it's really hard not to compare any hyper-realistic painted artwork to Alex Ross.
Yeah.
Just because, he's so, prevalent everywhere in every corner of the industry. Alex Ross makes these, almost like photorealistic, people and backgrounds and everything, but even makes you believe that those incredibly simple, stripped down, very, classic costumes that would not in any way, shape, or form work in real life, because it would really just be spandex and nothing else. He still makes you believe that it could be real.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Ross is a legend for a reason, and I mean no disrespect in any way by saying this, but to me, I feel like Bermejo's style and aesthetic is sort of similar to Ross, but it feels like Bermejo is Ross with a little bit of Rob Liefeld and Frank Miller sprinkled in.
What he's trying to do is almost okay. I won't put an intent on an artist, but you know what I mean. That Bermejo's style is trying to make this fantastical stuff feel real, and sometimes it works, like that splash page right there. Where even it didn't mention it earlier, but even like the pixie boots on Robin, look like something that could work in reality.
That's such a great touch. I love that.
But then, we were talking, before we were recording, just about, and you've talked about, ad nauseum. I've talked about it ad nauseum. But the bat suit in the Batman movie, just looking overly designed, clunky and ugly, and just like it's trying too hard to be practical and tactical and real, that it takes away any of the fantasy that is inherent and baked into all this stuff. Like that, there's a buy-in to superhero comics where you just say, okay, I'm just going to accept this because this is what they do. Yeah, I know a guy is not going to run around in, spandex jammies and a cape and be able to jump from rooftops, but you don't care just because, that's what the comics are about. Trying way too hard to ground it in realism and put, buckles and seams and stitching and everything makes it look real, but almost takes you out of like the fantasy that it's like, I'm already there. I've already, accepted, which is why I brought up the Ross comparison, because, he doesn't do, piping and needless seams and everything like that. Just, draws and paints those costumes the way that they have, traditionally looked, and you just accept it. This is a design choice, and I'm not gonna, deride Bermejo for a design choice for which on their own are generally, good designs by themselves. It's just kind of taking the fantasy out of a fantasy, and that's a lot of what doesn't work with his style for me, is just trying to make it too real.
And that's perfectly understandable, because as you're saying this, I'm kind of, scanning around, and I land back on that page that I mentioned where he's crouched down on the roof of that church with the spraying sign in the middle of the page. At the bottom of that page is him looking through a pair of bat binoculars, and he's crouched down with his elbow on his knee. And if you look at the costume designs, and I don't know if this is going to make sense to anybody but me, it's simultaneously beautiful and ugly at the same time, because you can see seams, you can see padding, like the hip pads that he has, the knee pads, and the leathery texture to the cape. It's beautiful work, but I see what you're saying in the aesthetic choices. It almost looks like a guy, if you'll forgive me for saying it, that's wearing hockey pads.
No, yeah, no, exactly. It's trying to add reality to something that doesn't even need it.
It doesn't need it. Yeah,
especially
I see what you're saying.
Especially that, that page we keep referencing with Batman and Robin, it proves right there that a very simplistic, stripped down, more traditionally comic booky costume can and does work with Bermejo's style. So he could have done something like that.
And looks better, honestly.
Yeah, it really does. Even if, I'm not going to say, to do it, because I love the yellow oval, but even if you wanted to do more of like the bigger, kind of like the Jim Lee kind of a bigger bat symbol on the chest, and then just have it be like the dark blue or black and gray, but still have it be that very, very streamlined look to the actual bodysuit. It could definitely work even in this story, but then you've got this overly designed, trying to make way too much quote unquote sense where it doesn't really need it, and it just becomes overly complex and becomes kind of difficult to look at sometimes, just because it's way too much going on.
I think you're making a perfectly valid point, and I don't contest that in the least. In fact, on the DC page 43 on DC Universe Infinite, it's during the Catwoman thing, and it's her lifting the goggles in the background, and the foreground is more of like Batman crashing through a window to save Robin from a tiger, and Catwoman's in her original classic style costume with the whip. Like, you look at Batman's costume there, the utility belt has some pouches on it, and a very overpronounced buckle, but the costume itself still looks less busy. Again, I'm using that term busy because Bermejo does draw him busy. And, his Catwoman drawing in the leather outfit, the page before where she's kind of leaned up on Batman, I think looks good enough. But I look over here to the classic one in this flashback image, and I think she looks infinitely better.
And then even on that same page, when she's lifting the goggles, she has those pronounced claws that are clearly, like metal attachments that she's put on her gloves, rather than just claws built into the gloves. And it's okay, yeah, a cool realistic detail, but at the same time, is it really necessary to have that detail?
No, because even if they're presented in the way where it looks like, I'm assuming, where she can take her other hand and like move those back on the hinges that are there so that she can use her fingertips, you're still going to have this metal claw that's like flapping around, that's going to be kind of in the way of things if you're trying to use your hands in a more practical fashion.
Right.
So even though they thought about a practical use, they didn't think about how it's actually going to be used in that moment, I don't know, I feel like I'm being overly critical, but no, I get the criticism that Jay is presenting for it, and I see it, and I guess I'll say I don't agree with a lot of the aesthetic choices necessarily, but I still do absolutely recognize the amount of talent it took to put this to a page and make it look that way, whether I like that particular look or not.
Yeah. Yep. Go ahead, Andy.
I do agree with everything that you guys are saying. And that is why Lee Bermejo isn't my favorite the way it is for a lot of people. And it is because I just feel like the designs get too busy, too messy. And I think it actually ends up detracting as opposed to adding to it. But I absolutely respect the talent. And for me, sometimes it works better than others. For me, for most of this story, I think it works really well. But I definitely agree with what both you guys are saying is less is more, and I feel like when he does less is more, I think the art is even better.
Yeah, it for like a static image. Well, they're all static images, but you know what I mean. For like a cover or maybe like a pinup in something, that style can really work, really well. But for like sequential storytelling, it this doesn't it doesn't not work because he still has a great eye for movement and action and even some of his layout, like that page we were just talking about with Catwoman lifting up the goggles. The layout of that page is just awesome, just kind of going from her face into this flashback. The actual structure of that page is really, really cool. It's just with when you're seeing multiple different images of the same characters on the page, something that's overly busy doesn't really add to it, and it can, like you said, Andy, it can be distracting and can just something more simple can help streamline the storytelling to make it even clearer and easier to take in for what the artist is going for.
Right. I think we've made that point. Let's move forward.
Something I want to address. I really do like Superman as the second visitor or ghost, if you will. That page where he shows up and he has that ethereal glow about him and he's reaching down to help him up. I love that image of Superman. The boots are busy, but everything else I think is pretty much spot on. And I can live with the boots. They're not obnoxious, I don't think. I like the relationship portrayed here. Being the Miller apologist that I am, this really feels like Superman is definitely way more into this bromance than Batman is, at least in this moment, in this portrayal. That feels Millerish to me for some reason. I don't know why, but I really like the presentation, the artwork, the way he draws Superman, the look of emotion and concern he puts on Superman in the next several pages is really great. But this also is the biggest irk that I have in the entire book. And this is probably petty as hell. And I know this is petty as hell, but page on DC Universe, it's page 57. So, Andy, if you're still 5 pages ahead of us, I guess for you, it'd be 62.
Let's see here.
It's basically where Superman drops him off at the Batmobile.
Okay.
And he's trying to convince him to go to the doctor, and he doesn't want to do it. So Superman's finally like, okay. And he just flies off in the distance, and the Batmobile blows up.
Yeah.
Superman's not even out of the frame hardly when Batman gets blown up right there. And he doesn't even bother to turn around and check and see if he's okay.
He's like, I did my part. It's Christmas Eve. I got other things to do. Sorry.
I know it's petty. I know it's the story they're trying to tell, and for the sake of moving things along, they don't want to turn it into a Superman, Batman, A Christmas Carol. I get that, but there was a better way to handle this than the way that they did it.
You want to be a jerk? I'll let you get blown up.
Yeah. To hell with you, Scrooge.
People talk about the whole thing in BVS where, Superman could have been down there and stopped this whole thing from happening to begin with during the Batmobile onslaught, if you will. But at the same time, this book, predates that movie by a good 5 years, and I've never heard anybody levy the criticism here, so I'm going to do it. Superman not caring that this Batmobile just blew up and just keeps on going about his business. And you obviously could make the argument that he could be flying super fast and be, 500 miles away at that point, but his super hearing still works.
I mean, well, he does say earlier on, doesn't he say, I could hear your coughing from Metropolis?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I honestly, it didn't even cross my mind until you said it, but I guess it's true. I get it.
Yeah.
But we don't know how much time has passed between panels. So there's the panel where he's flying away, and then maybe Batman sat down, texted some friends, took a nap before he tried to turn on the Batmobile.
Ordered himself a Starbucks and
we don't know.
Eats, and then he presses the button in the panel that's literally tagged onto the panel where Superman's flying away. Sure, I'll buy that.
Yeah, maybe he did what they taught us in driver's ed, is he walked around the entire car and looked at all the tires before he was going to get into it, and it just took some time.
He just forgot to check for bombs on the undercarriage.
Well, he was checking the tires, not the bombs. Come on. I mean, maybe this bomb didn't have candy stripes on it like Batman Returns.
Honestly, it didn't occur to me either until you just brought it up, Jamie. But yeah, now it is kind of a big, again, kind of with the along the same line of is Joker Scrooge or is Batman Scrooge? It is there could be much more time between those panels than we're led to believe. But the way
usually when panels are attached like that, they're indicating that it's happening basically in the same moment.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
Based on like the unspoken or spoken rules of sequential storytelling, if you're going to go from one panel to another where they are occurring on the same page and in sequence like this, several seconds at most have passed between the top panel and the bottom one. So yeah, that is a pretty big I won't necessarily say plot hole, but a pretty big chasm we'd have to leap to be able to get this to be
exactly. My suspension of disbelief is in full effect here, reading a superhero story involving ghosts of Christmas past, present, and Christmases to come, because I ain't no casual. Even though I never actually have read the original story, oddly enough, as much as I do love the story, I've never read it.
Well, then it's yet to come. Yet to come.
Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry. But I can't in this moment. The instant I read this page, I was like, wait, what? Huh? And it hasn't sat right with me since.
All right.
Yeah, it's bugging me now too.
I mean, there could have been something more pressing, I don't know. Maybe Santa was in trouble. Superman went off to help Santa.
I mean, we can rationalize this in any which way we want. Like I say, it's probably more of a petty nitpick than an actual story flaw, if you will. But I don't know. I can't roll with this one.
And then, I mean, with A Christmas Carol, even, you've got to take a little bit of a, heightened storytelling to where, okay, is all this stuff actually happening? Is it still Batman hallucinating? Is he really encountering Superman and Catwoman? And this kind of falls apart in the next scene with Joker. But, it's like, did this really happen? Was it all a dream? It's kind of left up in the air, so you can take that. But yeah, it's this could have been told a little bit better for this to pay off more.
Well, to your point, those are our three ghosts as far as casting goes. So we get Catwoman as the Ghost of Christmas Past, which I think is pretty clever. I think that works. Generally, the Ghost of Christmas Past tends to be female. Not always, but usually. Except for Mickey's Christmas Carol, where it's Jiminy Cricket. But maybe Jiminy Cricket.
And also Scrooge, where it's Buster Poindexter.
Right. That's true, too. But anyway, so I think that works. The Ghost of Christmas Past tends to be mysterious and creepy, but like not evil or scary, like there's like a balance there. So I think Catwoman works in that regard, and that she's sort of she is mysterious, but she still is looking out for Batman or Scrooge. So I think that casting works. I actually do like her design in this. Very like the panel we were talking about where you get the whole outfit and she's leaning up against Batman. I mean, that's sexy. It's really
a good looking panel. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't have any issue with it. I was just saying in that moment I preferred the classic look over that one.
Yeah, but the flashback panels I think are terrific. They're amazing. They're beautiful. And what you mentioned, Jay, about some of the layouts that Bermejo does, the fight between Batman and Catwoman, the layout of those pages, I was reading it on Comixology, so I was doing the panel to panel, and I noticed that the movement was all over the place, and I was like, what the heck is going on here? So I turned it off and I zoomed out and I was like, oh, well, I get it. This layout is so creative and so unique that it was really hard to do a panel to panel progression. And so
go left, right, then bottom left.
Yeah. So it's better to just take it all as one thing, but it's really beautiful and super well done. And then, like we were saying, the artwork of the flashbacks of Catwoman, but then you get the whole Rogues Gallery is pretty terrific too. So I love what this signifies, but this is another one of those moments, much like the Robin moment, where I just felt like I needed a little more meat on the bones. Because the entry point is Catwoman saying, oh, what happened to you? Here's how we used to be. Now this is how you are. And I think that's a good way to make it the Ghost of Christmas Past. But I just think I wanted a little more of it, I guess.
That's fair, yeah. And, going to the flashback panels with that, where, he's got the villain splash page going on there. Like, she's jumping the rooftops up there. Robin's in the center. You got Joker to the far right, Two-Face, Scarecrow, Penguin. It's a good looking panel. I kind of like that Batmobile that's in
the
you can
60s
see a
ish
little bit in the
Batmobile.
background.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
That's cool. Scarecrow has things I love and things I really don't like about him going on here. I think Two-Face looks great. Penguin looks exactly like you want Penguin to look in most cases. One thing I do want to address, I have the utmost respect and love for most of his artwork, critiques aside. I don't care for the way he draws Joker. I think it's amazing how well he does it. I just don't care for the choices made there. Like the smile seems overdone, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
It's unappealing in a not good way.
Yeah, I agree. I've never liked his Joker.
It almost feels like to me, and there's a page that comes later on as Joker becomes more involved with the story where I think it really stands out. But to me, and I think I'm going to sound more critical than I intend to be, it looks like he's trying to draw the love child of Cesar Romero and Heath Ledger, and it just doesn't look right to me. Even though the drawing itself is great, I just the aesthetic choice with the drawing, I didn't care for.
No, I agree with that. I like the Joker book. I think we've reviewed that in the past, but I've never loved Bermejo's design for the Joker. It's just a little too ugly, a little too gross. But yeah, that's just a personal preference. But I'm with you on that. I really like the rest of the Rogues Gallery in this. I like the way Catwoman looks both in the past and in the present. I like this Scarecrow. It is super ultra realistic, but through that lens, I think it's actually really cool. But yeah, his Joker's never been my favorite.
I don't care for how the mask looks, but like every other detail about the costume, I think is really good in that.
Yeah.
I think the stitching on the eyes and the mouth is a little bit too much, but I like the idea of the mask and the noose about his neck too. That's always an interesting touch too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the Ghost of Christmas Past. Again, I do really like it. I just think it doesn't go deep enough, but I also think, to your point, it's a quick read. It's 97 pages, but it's pretty quick. Like, I read it before bed last night. And so I understand. I also appreciate the brevity. I think I can respect that too. But again, these are the moments where I feel like you could flesh them out if you were going to do a new version, maybe animated, where you can go deeper into the past, where he can see some of the mistakes he's made and things like that. Because they don't really go into that. They don't go, oh, here's where you went wrong, or here's how you used to be. It's mostly just, oh yeah, when you had a partner, you were a lot happier, and now you're not. You don't go into the past of letting his true love go or whatever. So I just felt like there was more to be mined from the past.
And one thing, again, I mean, I've not read the actual Christmas Carol, but and I may just be making excuses or conflating something or whatever, but the Ghost of Christmas Present, isn't there something about he's not allowed to, they're not supposed to be interfering with what's going on now, they're just observing? Or am I just kind of making that up?
They don't really say that, but they're also invisible, so they cannot interfere.
Right. So, I mean, that's with Superman flying off without even noticing there's a bomb, let alone, helping Batman after it explodes.
If they're in a moment where Superman isn't actually there and they're actually on something of a... what's the word I'm looking for? They're on like that different plane. I can't think of the word.
Like an astral plane?
Astral, thank you. If they're like on a different astral plane, now I get it. But since they're indicating in every aspect that Superman is there and actually physically helping him, I can't.
But then
I understand your point, and it may be valid, but I can't roll with it.
But then it's like Catwoman was clearly there, and Joker even more so is clearly there.
Yeah.
So why is Superman the only one that was a phantom rather than a real? Yeah. So again, we're kind of going down some roads here that's poking even more holes in something that may have even just been a small story oversight, and we're overblowing it now.
Yeah, I think that's really more the case, honestly.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're all there. I guess there's a way you could read this as if it's sort of a hallucination because Batman is just that sick. But I take it as to this is all truly happening, and then we're again framing it for the reader through A Christmas Carol. But yeah, I think he does run into Catwoman because there's the moment where he's with Gordon and he's hot on Joker's tail, and Gordon is like, yeah, well, Catwoman's out there too, and he's like, I'm on Joker. I don't want to deal with her tonight. And it's like, well, you might have to. So it does feel like all of this is happening, and Superman is checking in. And as we said, Superman is the Ghost of Christmas Present. I think, again, it's really good casting. The Ghost of Christmas Present tends to be the most hopeful and gregarious of all the ghosts. He's jolly, he's happy, he's loving the moment of Christmas. And so I think Superman makes sense as that hopeful, icon. And the way he really just glows amongst all of the darkness and cold of Gotham, I think is a really good stylistic choice, because that's who the Ghost of Christmas Present tends to be. And the way they sort of get around it, and instead of it, again, being walking invisible, is they're flying above the city, and Superman is showing him things that he hasn't considered before. We get a moment in here where Batman does the very famous Scrooge line, where in A Christmas Carol, it's, well, if they're going to die, then they'd better do it and help reduce the surplus population. Where Superman is going, hey, this Bob guy, he's not a bad guy. Maybe show him a little sympathy. And he goes, no, you know what? He's a criminal. He can go to jail and reduce the surplus criminal population. So I thought that was a neat little callback to the original story. But I like that Superman is here to show him not just that there is some gray in the black and white world that Batman is trying to live in now, but at the same time to show just the simple acts of love and kindness of everyday people on Christmas Eve. I thought that was a really nice touch too. So I as far as like the Ghost of Christmas Present, I think this is a good analogy, a good way of doing it within the context of the story.
I agree, and honestly, the present is my favorite segment of the book, because number one, I think Superman's drawn the best of any of the others, and number two, I think this one just, with the exception to that one big criticism I have, I think this one just simply works the best overall.
Yeah, I agree. This is a very jaded and cynical Batman, more than, I mean, there's some of that inherent in him already, but I mean, the line from A Christmas Carol, works in the context of the story. If this were a, just regular monthly Batman title, and Batman was just like, oh, well, a fitting end for his kind, like in the original Detective 27, kind of a very, well, if they're gonna die, they're criminals. That's what they chose. The way Batman has evolved over the years, it doesn't necessarily jive with even characterizations now, but in this story, having him be that jaded, he almost has to be for the story to work, and the analogy of him being Scrooge to actually work. So some of that I was a little taken aback by, but then I was like, oh, well, that's kind of the point of the story, is he's got to get out of that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But even then, it's kind of jarring to read, even Batman talking about a kid like that. It's pretty extreme.
It is.
It is, but I feel like it's not that extreme. I feel like we've seen more extreme versions where it's I still think it's within the guide rails of who Batman is. This is just the Batman who's like, no,
well, and
I've got to catch the Joker.
Too, so who isn't like curmudgeonly and grouchy and short when they're sick.
Right. Yeah. So I feel like it's a good, it's pushed far enough that you go, hey, Batman, like a little bit of sympathy and a little bit of love at Christmas would go a long way. But I also don't feel he's too far out of the realm of who Batman usually is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Superman shows him that, and he does leave him, and the Batmobile explodes.
And the Joker got away.
Yeah.
Except he didn't.
The Batmobile lost a wheel. Lost all.
Interesting take on the Batmobile. Everybody kind of wants to throw their own designs in there. It's not my favorite that I've ever seen, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
I wasn't sad when it blew up. I'll put it that way. But
it's not my favorite, but yeah, it's all right.
I like the back half of it. The fins at the back are cool, and the cockpit canopy is kind of cool, and the exposed engine is really cool. The the weird, almost like bat wing or ears or whatever on the side of the hood are a little much. But I mean, it's not a bad design.
No,
It looks like the Batmobile.
Yeah. Give it credit in that department anyway. And you know what? Tail fins are a trend that needs to come back on all automobiles.
I agree.
Like everything from a Honda Civic to a Cadillac SUV should have tail fins on it because I love tail fins on cars. That's me.
I agree with you. So the Batmobile explodes. Superman's too busy doing something else.
Being Santa or something.
Yeah, he's got to go up to the North Pole. It's a big night. And
one thing I did want to say, because you mentioned the line from the story about, decrease the surplus population. That makes me think that somewhere when the Marley / Robin shows up, he should have accused him of being an undigested bit of vichyssoise or something along those lines. That would have been a nice touch. But anyway.
Well, opportunities. But he's knocked unconscious, and then he's sort of half awake as the Joker is dragging him to the graveyard. This is an image I love. And it's one that I remember distinctly from the first time I read it. It really stayed with me is him sort of opening his eyes and just seeing the Joker dragging him by his cape. So yeah. I think that the Joker as the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come is an interesting choice, but it makes sense. As you want the Joker as part of the story anyway. He's the Joker. And the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come is the scariest. I don't want to say the most evil because he tends to not be evil, but he's he is the harshest to Scrooge, and so I think using the Joker as that works for me. And the fact that in the initial story ends with Scrooge falling into his own grave, and here the Joker literally buries him alive, I think is really clever. And then it also allows him to have a vision of the future where he is unconscious and he is losing oxygen and everything, and then that forces him to essentially have a vision of what his own future could be. I think that all is well done, and I think it's pretty creative on how he makes that work.
And you mentioned him dragging him around through the snow and going to the cemetery. That panel right before they cross in the cemetery gates, and ridiculous as this may sound to some of you out there, I love that tree that Batman is looking up at the Joker, and the tree is past that perspective. Something about that tree, maybe it's because it looks so Halloween-y or something. I love the way that tree looks. And then that next page as they're coming through the gates and like the shadow is coming down on them as he's dragging. Mm-hmm. For whatever critiques I may levy on the aesthetic choices, I think that is a beautiful page there.
Yeah, it
beautiful.
Really is. The page also has, not to be a downer, my one problem with the Joker as this representation of the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. That says the last visitor never once spoke a word to Scrooge, which tracks with the story, but the Joker never shuts up. So I don't know if that we should buy it in that regard, because they make that point that, he never actually spoke to Batman. But again, that's again more just a minor quibble, more than anything else, because I agree. I think the Joker is the best villain or even character in Batman's entire, stable of allies and rogues to represent the unknown future, because the Joker is an unknown. He's an unknown force of nature that's, can't be tamed, can't be understood, shouldn't be understood even. So having him be the representation in the face of things that could happen to Batman, even if you want to go so far as to say that eventually the last act of Batman's life even could be a face-off with the Joker, I buy that. It's just that one little detail that I was like, okay, maybe the Joker wasn't the best, but I'll roll with it otherwise.
Well, if Batman is unconscious, Joker wouldn't have a lot to say. Maybe. I don't know. I see your point, because the Joker probably would. He'd probably enjoy this moment and a little more, and he might
floating and everything.
Yeah, he might wake Batman up just so he knows that he's the one doing it. But they call it out, and I think it works well in the context of everything. I also like that when we talk about the future, and I think this is something that often gets misrepresented or maybe misunderstood about the original story is the section of it that's yet to come. It's not that Scrooge dies, because of course he does. We all die. It's not about that. It's about the legacy you leave behind. And in the initial story, that's why everything leading up to the cemetery is so much more important. And I think so many versions cut that part, which I'm like, well, that's kind of the point. Is like, here's the legacy you're leaving behind. Is they steal your stuff and sell it for money. They talk about you, like who's going to miss him, who's even going to show to the cemetery. It's about the legacy you leave behind. And I like that this one really hammers that home, is that, of course, someday your time comes, but then what happens? And there's a lot in that in Bermejo's writing where he really shines a light on that. And then there's even a line, and I can't quite find it, but it's something about it's not about dying, it's about finding a better death, something like that.
Yeah, and seeing that Batman inspires, not necessarily inspires, but he leads to the riots and everything. Again, your idea of having, if they were going to do Robins, Carrie Kelly be a Robin representing the future, kind of going down that future that you don't want, that's not ideal for the character.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because him inspiring these ultra violent gangs in the future is very Dark Knight Returns, obviously. So that would have made even more sense. As I'm flipping, though, I also see that in the background with the gang, it's Kane's Electronics. So a little nod to Bob Kane there. So because of this, he sees what his actions could eventually lead to in the future. He manages to push himself out of the grave and come back to life, and says sometimes it takes dying to teach a fella how to live,
which is a pretty cool panel.
Yeah, it's great.
Not gonna lie.
Nope, for sure.
It's the Braveheart moment. Every man dies, not every man really lives. Yeah.
His fist just coming through those rocks and pebbles, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Nice Kill Bill moment there.
Yeah.
He obviously trained with Pai Mei at some point.
And so then we do get a culmination, and this is not necessarily taken from a beat from A Christmas Carol, but it's necessary for this story, where you get the confrontation between the Joker and Batman, but also then Bob and Timmy thrown into the mix as well. And this is where Batman starts to see the gray and realizes that a bad person could do good things and vice versa. And he's now trying to inspire Bob to be better, to be a hero, because Bob could end the Joker right then and there. But the Batman's like, show your son, that you can be better. Show your son what a hero is. And so Bob is inspired. And so the Joker gets taken away. And now it's the end of Christmas.
It's a very Joker moment there where he says, show him what a hero is, and he kind of uncocks the gun. Joker kind of rolls his eyes and says, boring.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
That felt like a very solid Joker moment to me.
Yeah, for sure. And so once Batman is feeling better, then he starts making amends. He sends a Christmas tree to Bob and hires him at Wayne Enterprises. Kind of starts making good with the police and everyone else. And so we realize the whole time our narrator has been Bob. He's been the one telling his son this whole story about Scrooge. And it sort of ends with him in his Wayne outfit, or his Wayne Enterprises work uniform, and asking his kid, what do you think? What do you think's the moral of the story? So it really ends with a hopeful ending for Bob and Timmy, thanks to Bruce, Batman / Scrooge, understanding that just because he was doing some bad things doesn't mean he was beyond saving or beyond changing. And that was a big theme of the whole thing. It all begins with them saying, in order for you to appreciate the story, you have to believe that people can change, but it's not as easy as that. And then that's really where it goes.
I also want to give a call out to the page right after everything wraps up with Gordon and with the Joker and the Cratchits with Gordon, and they show Batman in the cave. He's kind of got his monitors turned on there, and you see it from behind. But then the next panel down in the center there, Batman is sleeping. He has a really peaceful calm about him. You don't
Yeah.
see that with Batman a lot, where he's resting, getting quality rest. He normally would be, observing the monitors and everything else, but there he just looks like he's done his work for the day, and he's getting that rest that he needs or whatever. And Alfred just kind of, looks at him, smiles, and turns around and walks away. Just something about that panel feels right to me. I don't know if it's the hopeful side of me thinking, Batman is okay in that moment, I guess.
Oh, yeah, no.
Lack of something better to say.
I mean, you don't want your heroes, even if they are, tortured and driven by, vengeance or wanting to, make the world a horrible, awful world a better place. Even if, looking at that side of it, you still want them to have peace. You want them to win. You want them to have a good ending, even if it's just for a single story.
Yeah, absolutely. I do wonder if we could have had and I don't know, maybe it doesn't work for Batman, but just a happier epiphany of Batman. Like you want to feel that joy at the end of A Christmas Carol, that joy that Scrooge feels with his new lease on life and this new outlook. And the fact that Bruce or Batman isn't even present for some of the amends that he makes. I don't know. I felt like maybe there was a missed opportunity. I know you can't go too far down that road because it just doesn't feel right for the character, but I wanted to see a little bit more joy and Christmas spirit in the finale.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I think that's why he is at peace, is because he knows the trees being sent and the job being offered and what's going on with the police station, whatever else. I think that's why he's at peace, is because he's reconciled that.
Yeah, he knows he made a difference. Yeah, he stopped the Joker, but even more than that, he gave this guy and his kid like a new lease on life. Giving him the job. That's an answer to that stupid debate that always comes up. Well, why doesn't Batman do that? He does. He does do that. There's so many stories where okay, yeah, he's gonna put the Joker, and Riddler and Penguin and all these arch criminals in prison for what they do, but like the low level guys, the street level guys, and even for the bigger villains, he's all about redemption. That's why he tries to get them rehabilitated. That's why he sends them somewhere, which again, you could open up a whole other can of worms about the effectiveness of Arkham, but we won't go down there. The entire point is Batman is all about everybody getting another chance, a chance at rehabilitation, a chance to do better. So the fact that he's giving this guy a job so he and his son can have a better life, just further cements that fact that that's what he wants for others.
No, I completely agree with that. Like, it's no argument here. Again, it's just that moment of, what day is it? It's Christmas Day. It's the joyful moment of waking up on Christmas Day. I just would have liked to see that somehow folded in.
Even another panel, like, keep Bruce asleep at the Bat computer, but then whenever, Alfred comes up, he, maybe, is awake and even says, Alfred, what day is it? And Alfred just says, well, so it's Christmas Day.
Exactly. And just saying
like
Merry
that.
Christmas, Alfred. Something small. It doesn't have to be over the top, this whole scene with Bob and his son getting the job, getting the tree. What if there was then a wide shot of Batman just watching and smiling?
Yeah.
You know how I would have ended the book? Superman showing up in the Batcave and going, hey, I heard something explode behind me a little bit ago. What was that?
And then Batman just looking at the camera going, here we go again.
Yep. So, yeah. Anyway.
It's a touching ending regardless. Though,
it is.
Especially ending on Bob and Tim.
For sure. And I love what you said about how Batman does do so much to give people another chance, to make Gotham a better place, both as Batman and as Bruce. That's why that stupid thing that makes the rounds every 2 weeks just drives me so crazy, because I'm like, have you read a single Batman story? He does this all the time, in every media, in comics, in movies, in TV. He does it all the time. He makes Gotham every way better any way he can, both as Batman and as Bruce Wayne.
But what's more exciting, seeing Bruce Wayne sign forms and write checks, or seeing Bruce Wayne punch the Riddler in the face?
Yeah. So that is Batman Noel, and you're right. It ends on this very sweet final shot of Bob and his son also at peace, instead of Batman's, which is a nice, very heartwarming choice.
And in his Wayne Industries jumpsuit with his name on it.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know what? There's one last complaint here is when Bob chooses not to shoot the Joker, Batman should have said, "Bob, gun."
Yes.
So Batman Noel. Yeah, a little bit of closing thoughts. Jay, why don't you go first?
So this is one that, like I said at the beginning, I had even on my initial read through, a little bit of baggage that kind of dampened my appreciation for it. I appreciate it on a technical level, what it's trying to do. There are things I would have changed. But I mean, even now, just talking through it, I mean, there were things that I learned to appreciate more. It is a good take on Batman put in a Christmas Carol type story. There's some really great Batman stuff in here, some really great images and artwork, even if, not always loving the style, at least the skill and craft of it. And even at certain points, the style works really great. It's good. It's well worth adding to your annual holiday reading. Because I mean, like Andy and Jamie have both said, it's a pretty quick read. It's a breeze to get through. You could probably finish it in 45 minutes to an hour, depending upon how long you're just admiring some of those splash pages and everything. It's good, and I enjoyed talking about it because it helped me to appreciate it more than I even came into the conversation.
Excellent. Jamie, what about you?
I think it's a really good story, and again, I'm way into the holiday spirit at this point, and Christmas is one of my favorite things on earth, and I share it with my family. My mom was really big into Christmas, which is why I am, and I kind of pass that down to my kids, which is why they all have their own trees in their room. And even though a couple of these Scrooges haven't put their trees up yet this year, which is kind of weird, but long story. I really like this. I'm sad that I've waited as long as I did to read it, because this would have been something that I would have liked to have had my head around a couple of times before really having this conversation. But I certainly there's critiques that you can levy against this, and we probably spent more time on that than we really needed to. But sometimes we get on these hooks and we just keep chasing an idea around in a circle, and that's just the nature of conversation, unfortunately, at times. But I think there's so much more to like about this story than there is to not like about this story. And I think that about the actual Christmas Carol story in every iteration I've seen. I don't know that I've ever seen one I consider perfect. There are certainly some I like better than others. This one, probably kind of middle of the road as far as my overall perception of a Christmas story appreciation. If I'm looking at this with a critical and objective eye, or more objective, I should say, because it's hard to be truly objective about anything and giving an opinion, I think I'm going to probably land this somewhere in the B plus territory. But because I'm unapologetically into Christmas and that's just part of who I am, I'm going to give this an A minus.
Oh, all right.
Oh, was I supposed to give a letter grade?
I didn't say that, but
but my bad.
I guess we can. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'd still stay in I'd say a B plus. Yeah, a B plus is a pretty good grade for where I land on this one.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I agree with both you guys. I really like this. I'll even say I love it. I think it's great. I think it's really creative. It does a very nice job of blending these two iconic things, A Christmas Carol and Batman, and I think that it makes some really cool choices to make those things work together. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with what you guys said about some of Bermejo's art, but for the most part in this story, I think it really works. The only thing that for me it doesn't is a couple of those wonky faces, like with Alfred. Even though I agree with you guys about the bat suit in the present and how it's maybe a little too busy, I think in this iteration in this story, it doesn't even really bother me. So I love the artwork through most of this, especially the city and Wayne Manor and just. It has that feeling of winter and of Christmas. So my only real complaint is, as I said throughout, is there were just some times where they could have gone deeper. The downside of that is it would have made it longer, and so you kind of appreciate the brevity of what this is because it's a pretty quick read. I also got to mention, because we didn't talk about it, is how beautiful the cover is, especially when the full uncut dual page cover with Batman, and then you see the graveyard in the background with Superman, Catwoman, and the Joker. I love that piece of art. It's in my Christmas wallpaper rotation. I think it's beautiful. So yeah, I really love this one. I think, sure, there are some opportunities for improvement, but overall, I think it's really great, and I enjoy reading it every year. And as I said, when the question comes up of like, oh, what famous Batman story would we like to see adapted to animation, it would be this one. I think they would get some criticism because you wouldn't be able to do Bermejo style in animation because of how ultra realistic it is. So I think that some fans would push back on that and go, oh, come on, you got to do Bermejo. But like, I just don't know how you animate that. But I think the story itself is strong enough that it lends itself to that. And it also gives you the opportunity to maybe make some of those smaller tweaks to make it even stronger. So yeah, for me, my complaints are so minor that I'm just going with a solid A.
All right.
You just always have to outdo me in some way, don't you?
Yeah, pretty much.
And you mentioned you'd like to see this done in animation. I tell you how I'd like to see them approach this. And I know you could never actually really do Bermejo style and make it look like it's someone breathed life into it and put it on a screen. But if you did something along the lines of, and I don't know what you really call it, like a mocap animation, like if you've ever seen a Scanner Darkly or something along those lines where they're animating over the top of live action. Yeah. I would like to see something like that tried with this. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it would be a budget killer doing that, because I don't know what it really costs in comparison to just doing a traditional animation. But I think something like that style would bring an interesting light and perspective.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could definitely try something new to give it its own, identity, but not trying to recreate the comic.
Obviously, doing it as more of like an HBO Max special thing versus like the direct-to-video traditional DC animated stuff. I think your budget's going to be higher anyway. It'd just be a matter of whether or not they think it's worth their time to do it.
Yeah. Right. And also, I'm just always looking for new Batman things to watch at Christmas time.
And holiday content in general.
Exactly.
I mean,
so
you can never have too much.
All right. Well, 10 years of Batman Noel. Hope you guys already have read this and it's been part of your Christmas reading. But if it hasn't for some reason, absolutely check it out. It is on DC Universe Infinite. It's on Comixology. Like I said, that's how I just own it. I'm sure you can get a hard copy if you're old school, but definitely worth picking up and adding to your Christmas rotation. So there you go. What was it? An A, an A-, and a B+. So we're all living in the same neighborhood. Kudos to Lee Bermejo here. But we also watched something else. We read a little something. We watched a little something. And so we are actually wrapping up season 2 of Batman Beyond. So it's technically the end of season 2, but maybe not. Apparently this episode was originally aired as part of season 3, but then they decided it was season 2. So at least on HBO Max, which is where I'm watching it now, it's still part of season 2. It's season 2, episode 26, Ace in the Hole. This one was directed by James Tucker, written by Hilary J. Bader, and it originally aired on August 19th of 2000. So, when I said this title last time, Jamie goes, oh, Royal Flush Gang, but nope, psych, it's Ace the Bat Hound time.
Did you happen to see what the next episode is, though?
It's the Royal Flush Gang. You were just one ahead.
I was skipping around.
You were jumping ahead, as you tend to do.
Indeed.
So anyway, Ace in the Hole. They're out with Ace. Ace sees someone he does not like. He chases after him and he disappears. So Ace is missing. They figure out that this guy I guess he still does. He runs dogfights. And so we get a little origin story for Ace the Bat Hound. We realize that, yeah, he was taken as a puppy by this guy and he was trained to do dog fights, and he managed to escape, and Batman found him, or Bruce Batman found him when he was doing his annual visit to Crime Alley to remember his parents. He was there, and that's when he met Ace. So we see that Ace has a long history with this guy. What was his name? Boxer? Something Boxer?
Yeah.
And they're off to find him. So the Boxer finds Ace again, or the dog catcher catches Ace and then tries to sell him to Boxer, and Boxer's like, hey, I know this dog. We have a long history. I guess it's fate. I did think the dog catcher, I'm like, is this a new Batman villain? The dog catcher.
All I could think of was the dad from Friday.
I mean, it's kind of how they present him. They like even give him a costume and everything. And then we find out he's not on the up and up because he takes off Ace's tags and tries to sell him to a dogfight. So he is a villain. Anyway, so Terry is on Ace's trail. He manages to find Boxer and Ace. Ends up fighting a large, huge, monstrous mutant dog. Anyone else have flashbacks of 2003's Hulk?
Not until you just said that.
I try not to, but yeah.
Oh, I like that movie, but I definitely had flashbacks. So yeah, you got Batman fighting this big monstrous dog, and eventually Boxer, and so they get Ace back. They bring Ace back home, and all is well. So a nice surprise is that during the little flashback where Bruce meets Ace, which in my opinion is probably the best part of the episode. I don't know if you guys agree.
Agreed.
Well, I mean, it's what makes it a Christmas episode, so I count this for Cheerathon.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying is like, it actually worked out because during the flashback, it was Christmas time. Unplanned. I like when things just work out that way. I wanted the rest of the episode to do it. So anyway, Ace in the Hole, what'd you think, Jay?
I watched this twice and barely remembered anything from either viewing. It's not necessarily a bad episode. It's just, for such a good boy that Ace is, it's just such a bland story almost. Like, I really liked the flashback. I liked giving the older, bitter, broken, jaded Bruce a bit of humanity, someone for him to show affection for, and to kind of have him break through with that icy demeanor that he has too often in this series. But the actual story of Ace getting chasing down this guy that mistreated him before, that was fine, but then going into selling him to mutated dog fighting and everything like that, it just really didn't hold my attention much. So other than a couple of bright spots, I found this to be a pretty forgettable episode.
All right. What do you think, Jamie?
Yeah, this one worked better than most for me. Maybe it's because, much like with Batman Noel, I'm a big Christmas person, so I tend to be more forgiving of things. I'm also a big dog lover. I've got two idiots that live in my house now that people call dogs. I call them morons, but they're adorable morons. So yeah, the whole dog thing works for me. Ace, getting a little bit of a backstory for him in this episode, I thought was cool. The Christmas theming in the flashback, I thought was great. Counted for Cheerathon. Andy said looking for more Batman content in December. Well, here you go. Here's another one you can add to that list if you like the episode, which I did. I don't think it's the greatest episode as per my usual mind of when I enjoy an episode. I can say that I think it could have been better in a couple places here and there. I really think the giant mutant dog thing at the end was probably pushing an edge for me. I don't have like a big problem with it, but somehow that piece just seemed like it went on longer than it needed to in that moment. And I understand you want to have Batman in peril and Ace come to the rescue in that moment, but I think you could have wrapped that up quicker. And I feel like I levy this criticism against the show a lot, but the ending seemed very abrupt.
Oh,
there wasn't even
totally.
a word spoken.
Always.
And it's not a bad ending. I appreciate and enjoy it. Everybody's at peace in that moment, and Ace is back home and happy to be home, and they're happy to have him home, and that's all great. And they conveyed it without a word of dialogue, which is fine. But cut 2 minutes out of this giant dogfight and let's get a better ending out of that. I think that moment deserved more than it got, even though I think it was good enough. And that's the thing with this episode. I think it was good enough. I think there was a great episode there that just wasn't tapped into.
Well, it's funny because even I think, like, I watched it on Vudu, but even I think with the opening, like the intro to the episode, it still clocked in at like 19 minutes and 42 seconds. So you could have easily had another minute and it still would have been a 20-minute episode. So it's kind of crazy that, they have this abrupt ending when they could have added a little bit more there.
And it's, again, I like more about this episode than I don't, but I think there were, missed opportunities, which again, even on the episodes I like about this particular series, I think I say that more often than not is missed opportunities, or I think it could have been better, which, preferences, taste, whatever else. I'm no writer. I say this all the time, but I just think somebody somewhere could have put a little bit more into it and made it a special episode instead of one that I thought was just pretty good.
Okay. I thought it was all right. Here's what I liked about it. I liked going, hey, let's turn the focus on Ace. He's been here for the whole series and we haven't done a lot with him. Let's finally give Ace an episode. I think that was really cool. I love this Ace. I love this version. I love this design. I think he's awesome. So I thought that was really cool. Showing the flashback of how Bruce met Ace, I thought was really nice. It was really well done, in the snow, at Christmas time with a Joker trying to give him trouble and Bruce just having no patience for it, which is awesome, and Ace backing him up. I think all that's great. So I like all that. But as far as the main story about, Ace running back into this dog fighting guy and then the mutated dogs and stuff, that one worked less for me. Like you said, Jay, I already kind of forgot most of it, which is why as I was recapping the plot, I was like, oh crap, what happened? And maybe it's just because it was early and I was waking up with my coffee and watching it that way that it's a little fuzzy, but or maybe I just wasn't as into that portion of it. But yeah, I thought all of that was fine, but I do think like the really huge monster Hulk dog was maybe a step too far. I thought it was maybe a bit much. So overall, I thought it was okay. I appreciate that it's an Ace episode. I liked getting the backstory, but as far as the episode itself, it's all right. I did wonder while I was watching it, I was like, I bet Jamie's going to like this because obviously I know you love your dogs. And so I was like, I think this might work just a little better for you because of that.
It does. And, I've got a friend of mine, he helped train my last dog. And that's basically what he does is he's a full-time dog trainer. He's also like a Zumba and aerobics instructor. He's also a very gifted martial artist. I often refer to him as the Puerto Rican Bruce Lee because that's kind of what he's built like, looks like, acts like, all that stuff. But anyway, he has, at last time I checked anyway, 5 dogs. And 3 of those dogs are pit bulls that were rescued from fighting rings. And he has worked his butt off to rehabilitate these dogs and make them back into family pet caliber versus dangerous killer caliber. Mm-hmm. So, this sort of thing resonates with me because I hear him tell stories like he came over and helped train my last dog that I had that unfortunately passed away last February. And he was leaving our house going over to work with this other dog. He's like, I'm this dog's last chance. If I can't get something done with this dog, he's got to go because he's dangerous right now. So these sort of things with dog fighting and animal cruelty, for some reason, it speaks more to me because I know people involved in that. And I have a very strong soft spot for dogs. So maybe I'm going to be more forgiving of this episode than I typically would be, but it just, more of it worked for me than didn't. There were a couple things that I think could have been adjusted to make it a stronger episode. But overall, I think it kind of like the episode of not the last one, but the one before that, where the mental health topic came up. I think the heart of this episode was its strong point, even though I think some adjustments could have been made around that to strengthen it even more. Yeah,
I agree with that. And I think when it started, that's really what I thought too, is I was like, oh, wow, this is, a really cool idea for an episode. It's smart. And like you said, the heart is in its right place to really talk about animal cruelty and tying that in with Ace. I thought all that was really good. And I think that maybe they just didn't trust that enough. And they were like, well, but it's still a superhero show. There's still kids watching. So we need monster dogs. We need them. And maybe I think that's where they sort of lost their way a little bit, at least in my opinion.
That could be. And I do have to ask, because this is honestly my biggest criticism in the episode, even more so than the dog or the fight going on too long at the end. And that is, if you're out walking Batman's dog, and I'm still not ready to fully declare Terry as Batman. I still see Bruce as Batman because I'm an old curmudgeon, grumpy person like he is. If you're out walking Batman's dog and Batman's dog is getting ready to take a chunk out of somebody who pulls a freaking pistol out of his pocket while he's running, and you're going to ask the dog what's got into him, maybe you need to readjust your instincts and thinking here, Terry.
All right.
If my dog's growling and barking at somebody running down the street with a pistol in his hand, I'm going to let go of the leash and say, do your business. I'm not going to ask him what's gotten into him or her. I don't know. That moment just seemed kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
Terry seems awfully oblivious to the world that he lives in sometimes, and that was certainly one of those moments.
All right. Fair enough. All right. Well, I'm going to do my letter grade first, so that way you can't accuse me of one-upping you. So I like the Ace. I like the origin story. I think it gets a little sillier as it goes, but I think it's solid. But because it's an Ace episode, I'm going to give it a B-. So, Jay?
Yeah, I'd give it maybe a C. I like aspects of it. I like the flashback. I like Ace himself. It's just anything with, genetically modifying, anything. Like, I didn't even like those episodes in Batman the Animated Series, like that Tiger one. Yeah. And also, it's just like, okay, I mean, the farmer one actually works for me a little better just because it played like a 1950s creature feature.
Okay.
But then, the one where like Catwoman becomes a Catwoman.
Yeah.
That one
was. I'm not a fan of that one either.
Yeah. It's
wait, are we talking about the episode, the farmer episode, where the goat walks up in the room and goes, Batman?
Heck
because
yeah,
that's the most amazing thing in animation history right there. I love that so much.
Yeah. So this one, I don't know. I mean, that aspect didn't work. I mean, yeah, there's good stuff there. Like you guys said, this could have been a very good episode that had a good, strong, message about, animal cruelty and everything like that. And there were aspects there, but like you said, it's almost like they didn't trust the audience enough to go that far with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like the ending, even though it was abrupt. Like I said, I like any opportunity to give, especially this Bruce, like a moment of humanity and warmth. But I mean, overall, it's not a bad episode, just a forgettable one. So I'd say a C.
Okay. And Jamie?
I think my thoughts are very much in line with Andy's as far as what's to like and what's to not about this episode. For me personally, it resonated a little stronger because Andy's a cat guy and I'm a dog guy. I guess if we had, cat cruelty, cat fighting rings, and giant mutant cats, I bet Andy would have dropped a Christmas Story A+ on this thing.
Maybe. It's possible. Although, go back to Disorder, listen to Aristocats. Everybody thought I was going to love it. And I'm like, I mean, I like the cats. They're cute, but it's still not a great movie.
Yeah, fair enough. For me, even though my thoughts are much in line with him, again, it resonates stronger with me, so I'm going to score higher. I'm going to go B+ on this one because, again, I think the heart was in the right place. But, man, this could have been an A+ episode just as easy if they would have just squeezed a little bit more of that in there, I think.
Yeah. Jeez, always got to one-up me with your damn B+.
I'm that guy.
You're such a jerk. Anyway, there you go. Guess what? Season 2 is over, guys. High fives all around.
Woo!
This is why Brendan hasn't been on in forever. He's like, I'm just let you guys finish this out. I'm done.
Season 3 is a short one too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's only 13 episodes, I think.
Okay.
I think there's a Raish episode you're gonna want to do.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's like the best one. I think the other best one is the Mr. Freeze one from season 1. Those are
Dan Jurgens was writing in the post Rebirth era a Batman Beyond comic, and I really actually liked that more often than not. I really enjoyed it, but their take on he says Raish, I say Raz, tomato. Their take on Ra's al Ghul in that
Raz
was magnificent.
I call him Roos.
Mr. Raz Al Ghul.
Yes, am I saying this right? Ras Al Ghul. Anyway, if it's anything as good as the one that Jurgens wrote in that book, then yeah, I'm into it.
No, it's pretty good.
Cool. Well, something to look forward to. So next time we're going to finally kick off season 3. First episode of season 3 is King's Ransom. So this time, Jamie. This time
it's an Ace the Bat Hound episode.
I bet it's about King Faraday.
Oh, it's about Clock King. So anyway, thanks for following along. We're getting really close to the end. Next time, Batman Beyond, King's Ransom. But before we get to the Wayne Manor mailbox, I got to give a quick little shout out to Manscaped, who has been sponsoring the show, and a big thank you to them for doing that. And a big thank you to all of you who've checked out their products because of us. So manscaped.com, check them out. Products are really quality. They're fantastic. I've continued to use mine. And as we said, Brendan has reordered his. Jamie uses his. It's a great thing to get either for yourself for Christmas or for your loved one, a significant other, or others for Christmas. It makes for a great gift for either you or for others, and I think everybody wins in this scenario. So go to manscaped.com. I don't think you'll regret it, and if you do, don't forget to use the promo code BATSCAPED, 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 so that way they know it came from us. It's a great way to support us, the show, and also do something for yourself or for, again, your loved one. So go to manscaped.com, use BATSCAPED. I do stand behind the good quality products, and at the same time, you will help support us, the show. They have more people who go because of us, the better it helps us out. So please do that if you haven't already. Get yourself a little Christmas gift. Yeah. Anyway, we're not going to say goodbye just yet because last time we couldn't finish all the emails, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let these emails sit in the mailbox any longer. So it's time to check in with you fine feathered finks and crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Derek, what is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
All right, what do we got here? First one here is from our pal Weston Craig. It says, hey guys, Monolith, the company that's making the new Wonder Woman game, is famous for making the Shadow of Mordor Lord of the Rings game. They have a nemesis system where when one of the orcs kills you, it levels up and it's harder to fight the next time. So the villains level up to try and beat you like you do with them. What minions do you think would be cool in a Wonder Woman game? Skeletons from Hades, Greek monsters, present-day thugs with guns. If you were designing a Wonder Woman game, which 3 or 4 main villains would you choose, and which minions? Thanks, Weston. Appreciate the message. Well, first of all, can I just say, the Nemesis system, that sounds horrible to me.
I completely agree.
I don't like that at all. Why would I? The whole point is that I'm leveling up and getting more powerful so I can go further. If they're leveling up, aren't we just breaking even?
Yeah.
No.
As somebody who plays one game on their phone, which is Euchre, for people not from the Midwest, it's a game that's similar to Spades. I'm a pretty proficient player. I've played it for many, many years. And the more you play that game, the worse your partner gets and the better your 2 opponents get. So, yeah, it does get annoying when they get a little too good.
Yeah. I mean, that's just me. And also, I'm one of those, because I'm a casual gamer, I don't want it to stress me out or make my life harder. I want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying make it like super, super easy, but also like, yeah, this is something for like, obviously for hardcore gamers who are like, no, I want the challenge. And me, I'm like, no, I want to have fun being my favorite superhero, beating up bad guys, and enjoy the story as I go. That's just me.
I agree.
But anyway, as for a game, what sort of villains would you use in the game, Jay?
So Wonder Woman villains, Giganta had to be in there. That would be, really fun, interesting could I'm trying to think of a game that has maybe done this, but best I could think of, because I'm not like a hardcore gamer either, but there's like that Shadow of Colossus game that I never played, but ultimately you had to like fight your way up like this giant creature to take it down. I think if you're a Shadow of Colossus fan, I'm so sorry if I got that wrong, but this is just what I understand in passing. But yeah, Giganta would be pretty fun to have in a Wonder Woman game. I'm trying to think of how you would do like Dr. Psycho. Maybe he just mind controls like a bunch of like just normal citizens, and you have to take them down almost like passively, to where you don't want to hurt them, but you also want to break them free of his control. That might be kind of cool. I'm trying to think of things that are other than just go in there and throw power-ups at the bad guy and they throw power-ups at you. Different gameplay elements that could be fun. But then you've got to have something with Cheetah, and I'd say probably Ares as well, or maybe or even like the entire pantheon of Greek gods. Just maybe fight them and take them on, and have to use strategy to adapt to the way they use their different skills and powers and stuff. So yeah, those are my answers that I came up with off the top of my head for a character whose rogues gallery I'm not really like intimate with.
Yeah, I love the idea of Giganta and like fighting your way up her to get, and when you said that was immediately as I thought is, like you start with like her knees, and
like
then you
take them down and they buckle and she
falls.
Falls.
Exactly. Like, it's sort of like you have to get all the way up. I think that's actually a really cool idea. Jamie, thoughts?
There was a game like Marvel Alliance. Is that what it was called? Where you have like a team of 4 that you can pick from?
Ultimate Alliance.
So, yeah.
And as you got further up in the game, you wound up fighting Galactus, and there was a moment like that was similar, where your team would, fight against the massive person that is Galactus, and that was a good time. That was kind of in the last era that I was really playing games with any consistency, but I had a good time with that one. But to answer your question, my choice here would be an ever-growing flock of disenfranchised fanboys that are still crying about things in Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh yeah,
good.
That's the right answer.
Good answer. I like Weston's suggestions here, and honestly, that's what I would do. Is I think I would make it progressive. I would sort of start in like Themyscira with like training, right? And so maybe I don't know if it'd be a villain, but like the adversary would be someone, like whoever Diana's biggest competition would be. It would be like someone like Artemis, something like that. And then,
or even training with Antiope.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then she would like come to Man's World, and that's where, you would fight Cheetah and or Giganta. And then eventually it would lead you to the gods, and you would end up in the underworld with Hades and these underworld minions. I think that, I would sort of do all of that. And if you assume it's sort of only going to be one Wonder Woman game, I'd want to hit all those notes as I go. All right, next message is from Chris, the Objective Geek. He says, hey guys, since it's Christmas time, one of my favorite Christmas movies are the Harry Potter films. What DC characters would you cast the 3 main actors? So Emma Watson, Daniel Radcliffe, and Rupert Grint for future DCEU or Batman films. I guess I would cast Daniel as the Mad Hatter, Emma as Vicky Vale, and Rupert I honestly don't know. And do you consider the Harry Potter films Halloween or Christmas films, or both, or neither? Keep up the great work. Thanks, Chris. Always good to hear from you. Okay, so we're casting the main 3 in Harry Potter, and then first of all, I don't consider Harry Potter Christmas or Halloween. I'll start there. I don't consider either.
I don't really either. My daughter would be more of a person that could answer this better than me, because she's like hip deep into the Harry Potter mythology right now, and I've only seen each movie twice, except for the Fantastic Beasts. I've seen the first one once, and I haven't seen the second one at all yet. Yeah, and I've never read any of the books. So
it seems like almost every movie had a moment of Christmas, because each movie was a school year, right?
Sure. Right.
So there was always a Christmas note, which I always loved, and it was always beautiful. But because it was usually a couple minutes at most, it just, to me, it's not enough to make the movie a Christmas movie or even a Halloween movie. So I consider.
It would be like saying Wonder Woman 84 is a Christmas movie because the ending is.
Yeah, exactly, because the final scene.
I think that's fair. There's at least one of the Harry Potters that's into the Halloween/autumn thing, and I don't remember which movie's which, guys. I'm sorry, but it's the one where they have that griffin-like creature that they're going to execute because they say it attacked Malfoy.
Yeah, that's
and there's
Prisoner
like
of
a pumpkin
Azkaban.
patch all around it and that sort of thing. I mean, that's kind of a seasonal feeling moment, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't consider them Halloween or of the two. I would consider them Christmas, but I don't really consider them either.
Yeah, I would only put them more towards Christmas just because they were all released. Well, not even all. Towards the end, they started coming out in the summer, but the first few were all holiday. They were all released at the holiday time, so there's also that, you know. All right, so let's cast Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint. Jamie, any thoughts?
My mind immediately, when the question was asked, went to Rupert for Flash.
Oh, okay.
Because he's kind of got that quirky-ish personality, but it's not like over-the-top style. I mean, he kind of feels like a Barry Allenish type character to me. Emma Watson, I'm going to lean more towards something like a Donna Troy style, because she can play that tougher type character. Like she's got a range as an actress where she could step up and play that, but I don't feel like Wonder Woman's exactly right for her. So Donna Troy just feels like that half step back from Wonder Woman where it still works, but it's not quite the same thing. Radcliffe thing, I can do it for Marvel much easier than I can do it for DC, because the idea has been thrown around as Radcliffe to play Wolverine, and I think that's actually really pretty good. For DC, I'd have to think about it for a few more seconds. I don't know. Somebody else go ahead with theirs, and I'll see if I can come up with one by the end.
Okay. Jay, thoughts?
I'm going to steal Radcliffe as Mad Hatter, because I could see that.
Well, I'll stop you right there. I'm going to swap it. Rupert Grint would be a great Mad Hatter.
I could see that too, yeah.
In my opinion, I was like, to me, that felt like a much more natural fit. But okay, continue.
Emma Watson, I'm having a hard time with her because I don't know. I would almost see her more as like you said, like a Vicky Vale or even like a Lois Lane type. Being strong and tough without even needing to have powers. Like she just kind of feels like she could be that kind of character. Rupert Grint, I was going to go Jimmy Olsen.
Okay. What's funny is I had Emma Watson as my choice for Batgirl years ago. So that would still be my first choice, but it sounds like Chris wants us to cast him as if it were to really happen. So like
I would like her as Oracle. Like maybe Babs after.
Yeah. So, but if it sounds like if he wants a more real, like if roles that are cast are off the table, then that changes that. Because I think she would have been a great Barbara Gordon, but we have a Barbara Gordon now. So in that case, yeah, I mean, I like what you're thinking, like a Lois Lane. If we were to do that, I think that could work. Or like you said, a Vicky Vale, like something like that. As far as like, yeah, here I have a hard time picturing her as any villains. And I'm thinking of like female heroes. I don't know, if you dye her hair, I could see her do Zatanna.
Yeah, I could see that.
And it's probably 5 years too late, but now that I put a few seconds thought into it, Radcliffe would have made a good Robin, and I think he could have played any one of them: Damien, Tim, Grayson, or even Jason to some degree. I mean, he had that boyish look for years, and again, I think he's kind of too old for it now, even though maybe he could, I guess, fit the Nightwing mold at this point. But I think that's kind of where I'm landing him, as somewhere in there, even though I think I'm too late for some of it.
Yeah. I think years ago, I think I'd be with you, but yeah, I feel like he has gotten too old. And then for Daniel Radcliffe, I don't know, let's say Scarecrow.
All right.
Why not?
I buy it.
All right. Cool. Next message here is from Adam. It says, "Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. Congrats to Andy and Brendan for the huge life changes since I last messaged. So is it just me, or has Alicia Silverstone been dropping hints on Twitter that she will cameo in The Flash? In case you're interested, check out her Twitter. She's honestly been tweeting about her Batgirl role and other Bat-related stuff in the past year, and it just makes me wonder. What do you guys think? Thanks so much." Thank you, Adam, and thank you for the congratulations. I've seen a little bit of this. Have you guys seen her kind of celebrating her past as Batgirl?
No, because I'm absent from Twitter.
That's true. This is true.
Not her specifically. I mean, I've seen, I think, hints of like her, even like maybe Clooney. Just, I mean, more speculation. Like, oh, there's got to be someone else in there besides just Keaton and Affleck showing up. They gotta, be pulling other people in there. So just names thrown about. It's one of those things that if it happens, I mean, it wouldn't necessarily upset me. It would be just kind of a fun, little fan servicey thing. If it doesn't happen, it's not going to upset me either, because I mean, if it didn't have a point in the story, then, all the better for it not being forced in there. But I haven't seen hers. She might just be, reminiscing about, one of her big roles. I'm sure she does that a lot with, even Clueless. They're not even really doing anything with Clueless other than it being a movie people still watch. So just might just be her celebrating a film she was in before. I don't know.
Yeah, that's all I've taken it as. It's the same way like Halle Berry on Twitter has had a lot of fun, celebrating her role as Catwoman. She's sort of
maybe that's because
embraced.
she's in the movie too.
Yeah, she's been embracing that and having fun with it, and I think that's all Alicia Silverstone is doing. Is it's like, oh, I did play Batgirl once. Enough time has passed that now people are even nostalgic for that movie, and so she's just having fun with it. That's really all I took it as. I would be shocked if she showed up in The Flash.
Yeah, no.
But maybe that's just me. Jamie, any additional thoughts?
I don't need it, but if it's there for a reason or for a quick wink at the audience, whatever.
Yeah. All right. Next message is from Drew Keese. It says, "Hey, Bat fam, I wanted to write a note a note of thanks for promoting the importance of therapy while reviewing an episode of Batman Beyond. The stigma behind therapy is still present for many, and the more it's talked about positively, the sooner the stigma can be resolved. While I know this is a Batman podcast, the fact that this pod has been such an encouraging and accepting space, from everything between discussions around LGBTQ plus issues and how we can all have different opinions on a Batman trailer, and that's okay. Over a year ago, I lost someone very special to me after a prolonged health battle at the age of 30. Luckily, I was already in therapy and was able to work through some very dark times for myself. One of the ways I coped during those times was by downloading an ungodly amount of episodes of this show. Just by providing a fun, entertaining, and inclusive space to talk about a character that we all love, you guys were there for me, and for that, I will be forever grateful. My own journey of mental health includes how I choose to be entertained, and it's important to have podcasts like this one. A hero can be anyone, even someone doing something as simple as providing a safe space to talk about Batman. Keep up the great work. Your friend, Drew Keese." Thank you, Drew. That is awesome. It's greatly appreciated. It's messages like
Drew's
this.
Local people to me. He and I, we live in the same town. We shop at the same comic shop. We've gone to
damn.
a couple of movies. We ran into each other at, was it Joker? Or no, it wasn't Joker. It was something. Some movie. I can't remember which one it was. He had a group that when Brett Culp was promoting the Superman-based documentary that he did, the one that followed up Legends of the Dark Knight or Legends of the Night. Drew's group hosted a theatrical screening of that me and my kids went to. He's good people. I like Drew a lot.
Awesome. Very cool. No, this message is great. I love it. I love that that's how the show is perceived, at least by you. It means a lot because that's what we try to be. It's what I work hard to be. And maybe it's not always successful, but yeah, like we want to be a safe space to talk about Batman or honestly anything. We want to be accepting and open, and I'm glad that is appreciated, and I certainly appreciate you letting us know.
This week, we're a safe space for people decorating the outdoors of their house with Christmas lights.
Right. Which almost could have been not a safe space, when I was on my roof last night. Anyway, Drew, thank you so much.
Here's an interesting side note, and this will maybe sound weird or awkward, but Drew and Jay are this close to being the same person, only Drew doesn't have the beard.
Oh, interesting.
Like their philosophies and their stance on life and their comic geekiness, and so much of the two of you is similar to me, and I mean that with the utmost regard and praise. I don't mean that in any way to be detrimental to either of you. You two remind me a lot of each other in so many ways. It's kind of crazy.
Very cool. we should connect then.
All right. Okay, moving forward. Next message is from Hugh Morris. It says, "What's up, Holy BatCast? Quick question. On a scale of 0 to damn it, do you think that people, Marvel fans, are going to say that the Flash movie is trying to copy Spider-Man No Way Home because of the multiverse aspect? Will this be compared as Deep Impact versus Armageddon or Bugs Life versus Ants?" He says, "Deep Impact, Armageddon, I like both. Bugs Life, definitely over Ants. Thanks. Have a good one, Hugh Morris." Thanks, Hugh. I agree. I prefer Armageddon to Deep Impact, and Bugs Life definitely more than Ants. Come on. But what do you think? Do you think that certain people are going to try to say that The Flash is a ripoff because of the multiverse aspect? Jay?
We've already seen it in reverse with No Way Home being a ripoff of the concepts for The Flash. So yes, people are going to say it. I'm going to ignore them and go about my day.
Okay, good. Jamie?
It's unquestionable. I'm sure the conversation has already started somewhere. I'm glad I'm in a space where I don't have to see it. The bottom line for me is the comic book industry, the movie industry. I mean, there's so much, air quotes because they're good for radio, borrowing going on in these mediums that there's inevitable comparisons to be made pretty much anywhere you want to find them. So, I mean, multiverse exists in the Marvel universe forever. It exists in the DC universe forever. I mean, whatever. I mean, you can argue it till you're blue in the face. It's just let them stand on their own. Let them be their own accord. I mean, if I really want to get people stirred up before I decided I just wanted to step away, I used to tell people that Civil War was the exact same script as BVS. Boy, you should have seen people get red about that. Boy, you should have seen people get mad about that. Oh, Lord have mercy, that would get people frustrated. And that's exactly why I did it, was to trigger that response. And guess what? I don't want to be that person anymore, so I'm not going to encourage anybody else to do it either.
Yeah, I mean, is it going to happen? Of course it is. It already is. You know, I'm already seeing it out there, and it's ridiculous. And as Jay says, I just try to ignore it and move about my day. So it's going to happen regardless. But I think that that conversation will be pretty much in the minority, and I think The Flash should and hopefully will be judged on its own merits and not comparing it with Spider-Man.
Yeah, the general audience, I doubt, is going to pay two minds about it. If anything, it's like, oh, cool, we get to see another Batman, other than, or two Batmans, other than, oh, did they rip this off of Spider-Man? I doubt those conversations are going to be had with most people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Next message is from Gaurav Venkateshwar, who does our theme music. It's Gaurav. So he says, "Hey, I hope you guys are well. I wanted to first say that Preston was a delight on your previous episode, and we would love to hear more of him. Second, kudos on taking the time to address mental health and destigmatizing it. It takes efforts by everyone, including folks like yourself, to help make people comfortable with that subject. On that note, I'd like to plug another great Batman podcast, The Arkham Sessions by Dr. Andrea Letamendi, a clinical psychologist and a Batman fan. You may have seen her on some extras that come with the DC animated films. Finally, I enjoyed the new Space Jam movie for what it was, and I thought they had some fun DC-related scenes. I'd love to hear you share your favorite ones." Gaurav. Thank you, Gaurav. And again, thank you for the kind words about, I think it was 2 episodes ago now, when we had Preston, and I appreciate that. Yeah, it was an unexpected conversation about mental health, but I think it went really well. And Jamie, I have you to thank for it, for turning us down that road.
Yeah, well, I do what I can here and there. But now that I've said all those nice things about Drew, I remember Drew's a Steelers fan, so now I just want to backhand him. So
okay, well, there you go. Anyway, so
Steelers and Raiders have a long-time rivalry that's kind of ugly. So it's all in good fun. Drew's good people, even if his taste in football team sucks.
Okay. Space Jam. Favorite DC moments in Space Jam, Jay?
I loved seeing Superman and, Jimmy and Lois, like in that one scene. Honestly, the biggest laugh of the movie for me was the Mad Max Fury Road spoof. I was about dying when Wile E. Coyote was holding up the little signs and everything. But I really liked the that animated segment, just going into the world of DC. That was just a blast as a fan of all of the DC characters and animated what I pronounce that weird, and all the animated properties. So yeah, I mean, I had fun with the movie. It's one of those movies that knows exactly what it is. It's corporate synergy, the movie, but I had fun with it, and yeah, so I enjoyed that the most. I think that animated segment.
Yeah, for sure. Jamie?
I still haven't yet to see a single frame of any Space Jam movie, but if anybody wants to make a Space Jam where Peyton Manning has to go to Mars to play football, call me. I'll watch that. But until then, I don't really care, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Jay. I think that obviously the whole animated segment where they enter the DC world is the highlight. But I got to shout out. I've done it before. The best performer in the whole film is Mr. Freeze behind Don Cheadle for that entire final act. He's
that robe.
He's working his ass off, that guy.
Superfly robe.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Next message is from Julian. It says, "Hey guys, I'm super excited for the upcoming Batman movie. I still can't believe it's under 3 months until we see it. I'm planning on cosplaying as the Riddler for a convention, and I've tried to figure out what specific parts I need for the costume. I found the mask that he wears in the movie. It's an extreme military cold weather mask. Do you think there's any tie between this and his background? My thoughts are that he might have some kind of military background and suffers from some sort of PTSD, which is why he's doing what he's doing. Also, a question specific to Andy. I remember you posting last year that you got the Lego Batman 89 Batwing for Christmas. I was wondering if you've built it, and if so, how long did it take? Been wanting to pick that up as well. Sorry for the long message. Happy holidays, Julian." Thanks, Julian. Last question first. I still have not built it. It is sitting in my closet along with the big Lego Batman 89 Batmobile that also needs to get put together, which someday will happen. I just haven't done it yet. So hopefully when I have all the extra time once the baby comes.
Well, I mean, it's going to put a serious crimp in your social schedule as it stands now. So
Yeah.
you're going to have more
I'll
time
be
at
home more. Every time she takes a nap, I'll start putting more Legos together. Anyway, what do you think as far as the Riddler? Any sort of connection with the cold weather mask from the military? Jamie?
I don't even know, but at this point, I'd say that's probably as good of a theory as any.
Yeah. Jay?
Yeah, same. Just the general, vibe of the movie, just how they're portraying Riddler, trying to ground things to the nth degree. It wouldn't surprise me if there was some sort of, something like a PTSD or something like that as part of his backstory.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's certainly possible. I also think that it's just as possible that Matt Reeves was in like a military outlet store and he saw it and he went, "That looks creepy. What if I just threw it on the Riddler?"
That too, yeah. I mean, when they're kind of trying to cobble that stuff together, why not go to a military surplus store and, get whatever you can to, create a costume that works just as well.
I mean, hopefully it'll make it easier to cosplay.
Yeah.
Easier to pick up. All right, next message is from Sam, who used to be Bat Sam, but he says, "My daughter thought it was silly." He says, "Hey, Andy and the rest of the Bat family, a quick Superman question for you. Would anyone there know if Clark Kent was portrayed in comic books as clumsy and nerdy prior to the first Superman movie, or was that an invention of Donner and Reeves? While Henry Cavill's Clark Kent is much closer to a New 52 style Clark, Reeves' portrayal brought just a bit of comic relief because we, the audience, are in on a secret and know that why he acts the way he does. Best to you and the crew, from Sam." Well, Sam, fortunately we have just the right guest on this episode to address this question. I think I know the answer, but I'm going to throw it to Jay Yaws. The Christopher Reeve bumbling Clark Kent, does that have backup in the comics, or did Donner and Reeves invent it?
I don't think they invented it. I can't think of any specific examples from pre-1978, because I think of the Superman comics I've read from the 70s, Clark is actually a TV like personality. Like he's on like the news.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So he's not like bumbling and dorky, but there is a definite separation between his two personas. Going back to the like his original appearances, I want to say that he was maybe a little bit more, if not clumsy and goofy, there was a little more of that, aw shucks, kind of characterization to him. I know that, afterward, obviously that influenced it a lot. Like John Byrne and especially Grant Morrison's takes on Superman, Clark would be purposefully trying to take heat off of himself so that nobody would even think he could possibly be Superman. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if that exact personality type they created for the movie or not.
Okay. Jamie, what do you think?
My understanding and minor recollections of anything that I've read from that era, which is not a lot, mind you. I've read the first couple issues of Action Comics, through reprints when I was a kid, things like that. But it feels to me like they didn't come up with the idea. They more or less just, for lack of a better term to call it, perfected that angle of Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't portrayed so much like that as it was. They maybe exaggerated a couple of the points to further that idea along. But I am reminded very much of the conversation in the second Kill Bill movie where he's explaining to the bride that this is how this is how Kal-El views humanity is clumsy and bumbling and everything else. That's his translation of us, because he's not one of us, but he wants to be one of us. And this is how he sees us, so this is the way that he acts. I don't feel like that came from the concept of a Donner movie. I feel like it's more present in other places, just maybe in a slightly different way.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think this is my understanding of it, is that the bumbling, clumsy, nerdy Clark was from the comics. But even by the time Superman the movie was made, it was somewhat of an outdated version of Clark Kent. But Donner and Reeve liked it, and so they were like, no, that's what we're going to use. And I think then Reeve put his own stamp on it and maybe did make it a little more exaggerated and a little sillier. But I do think that, yes, it has its roots in the comics, and then they just really solidified it by putting it in that first film to the point where it became so iconic because of that film that there's still a whole huge group of Superman fans that feel like that's how Clark Kent has to be. So I think that its longevity and that stereotype of Clark Kent comes from the film, but I do believe it actually originated in the comics. It's just by the time 1978 came around, he wasn't even that anymore then.
Well, fun fact, the grapevine is saying, with the rumors out there, that the next iteration of Superman will not be a reporter on TV or newspapers, but he will be a social media influencer on TikTok.
Are you serious?
No, but I wouldn't.
Okay, I was like,
the rumor started here.
I was like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Even that.
If anybody from We Got This Covered is listening, promise that headline's hitting tomorrow. Promise.
You serious, Clark?
We got the Catherine Hahn wink from WandaVision there.
Yeah.
Yeah, even that from Kill Bill, even that's kind of a skewed view of it too, though, because
it is.
Yeah, 100%. Because I mean, Clark is ultimately, Jonathan and Martha's boy. He's a good guy that just happens to have superpowers. There might be some exaggeration to keep people from thinking he would be Superman. But I also kind of like the idea that people don't even realize Clark is Superman because they don't think Superman needs to have a secret identity. Mm-hmm. So that's what keeps it off of him more than anything.
Well, I think that there's also a version where Clark Kent is mild-mannered, and so you've got the Christopher Reeve version that it's bumbling and nerdy, and you go, oh, that guy could never be Superman. But it's just as it's just as effective when Clark Kent is mild-mannered in that he's so forgettable that he blends into the background, and people don't even give him a second thought. Like, that works too.
It's been years since I've seen it, but I feel like the 50s George Reeves series, he was more like a character from Mad Men than a bumbling idiot too.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move forward. Next message is from Imad Alaguz. It says, hey guys, I just watched Spider-Man. I loved it. Oh, here we go again. I can't help but ask myself the inevitable question. How should DC approach the multiverse in a way to set it apart from Marvel's? I believe one main difference is the Flash can, if he wants, move across multiverses and across time as well. If you were directing the Flash, how would you do it? What movies would you connect and which characters would you add? Merry Christmas to you and your fam, Imad. Thanks, Imad. It's a good question, and I think that a lot of people are going to be asking that, but I'm trying to think of how do I address it without spoilers for No Way Home, because neither of my friends here have seen No Way Home. I saw it. For the record, I loved it. Like, really loved it. I'm really surprised at how great it was. But I will just say this. The way it was presented in No Way Home was a very specific way. And I guess maybe this isn't a spoiler because it was in the trailers, is there are people from the multiverse coming to our universe in No Way Home. Whereas the Flash, he is the one going to other universes and dimensions. So even just that alone makes a very different story and a very different perspective. That's not too spoilery, is it? That's okay, guys? Because
No, I think that's fine.
Okay, it's in the trailer, right? Like, in No Way Home, people are getting sucked into our universe, whereas in the Flash is going to other universes, and that in and of itself is very different. So I think that's okay. I also think tone is going to be very different. The characters they use are going to be very different. So I think that it's going to set itself apart just naturally. Neither DC nor Marvel have a patent on the multiverse, and I don't see a problem with doing both, with using both. But even if you want to go back even further to Into the Spider-Verse, same thing, where much like No Way Home, people are getting brought into the universe we're watching. It's different than the Flash, who's going to be out exploring at least one other universe, but probably a lot more.
If it's me and I'm the guy in control, is it Muschietti? Is that how you pronounce it? Or Muschietti?
Muschietti, yeah.
Muschietti, okay.
It's also my favorite pasta dish at Buca di Beppo.
If I'm him, I'm just making whatever movie I set out to and intended to make, and making the best film that I think I can possibly make. And comparisons be damned, people are going to make them no matter what. So I'm not going to let that alter in any way, shape, or form the film that I am making.
Yeah, you can't.
In that case.
Yeah,
it's just, as a filmmaker, I'm sure that's probably how he views it anyway. So the only way that I think that happens is if somebody from WB steps down and says, hey, this is too close to this. We've got to change some things around so we're not, looked at as copying or something like that. But even that at this point, I think is probably A, too late, and B, not going to happen, because I think these people are bright enough to realize that the two things are different, and it's only going to be, degenerate, angry fanboys that are going to make these comparisons just because, and they're going to make them no matter what.
Well, and it's already been happening. Think about Civil War versus BVS, and even Justice League versus Avengers or Civil War. Like the comparisons have been happening the whole time, constantly. Nothing you can do to avoid it. So go on the ride and enjoy the movie for what it is.
Exactly. Let everything stand on its own merits and its own accord. I'm not the biggest Spider-Man fan in the world, just as a character in general, but I love the first two Raimi movies. I like the third Raimi film. I did not like either of the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I really borderline loved Homecoming. I really didn't like, was it Far From Home? Was that what the last one was? Mm-hmm. But I've heard so much positive feedback from people that I know their tastes, I trust their opinions, and I value their opinions, like Andy and some other people that I know that have said this film is great. They've almost got me talked into going to this thing. So, and even though Spider-Man isn't really my thing, I'm capable of watching a movie about Spider-Man and judging it on its own merits and not being, overly harsh about it just because it's a character that I'm not a huge fan of. So if everybody could look at it in a perspective of everything is its own thing and don't go in with preconceived comparisons, it would make life a lot easier and smoother.
All right.
Yeah. I'm ultimately just going to copy and paste everything you guys said. Just don't overcomplicate things. Really, just make the best movie you want to make. Don't think about, oh, do we need to do this to have people buy into it? Ultimately, don't talk down to the audience. Trust that they're going to go along the ride with you, and then just tell the best story that you can. It doesn't matter if, there's these two different concepts that exist in both of the, the Marvel and DC universes individually anyway. So, go into it, having a good time, telling a good story, and then just ask the audience to go along that ride with you. Don't overcomplicate things.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, and we've already learned that the audience will go along with the multiverse. We saw it on Crisis on Infinite Earths. We saw it on Into the Spider-Verse. We're now seeing it with No Way Home. Like, give people credit. They get it. They get the multiverse. So take us on a ride.
As for the properties that I think should be included, that's the failed Justice League of America pilot.
Good.
Birds of Prey.
Mm-hmm.
The TV series, you mean?
Yes.
Birds of Prey. Oh, yeah.
The Birds of Prey TV series and the movie. Let's go ahead and just bring the movie into it.
Since he said that, I'm just going to go ahead and throw this bit out and be a scumbag for a second. Has anybody seen Dina Meyer lately?
Yeah.
Wow.
My whole point is those are not good. Like the Justice League of America pilot was not good. The Birds of Prey show was better than its reputation would have you believe.
I like
it's
it.
watchable,
Yeah.
but it's
not amazing. But I mean, that's the fun of this whole idea of the multiverse. Is even if the execution wasn't fantastic, don't be ashamed of stuff that's happened before. Try to even redeem it with maybe bringing in an element or two that works.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the 90s Flash show was a good show, but seeing John Wesley Shipp, more than willing to show up as the Flash, anytime they pick up the phone, and that's not to denigrate him at all. I mean, that shows how much he enjoys playing the character and the frequency with which he's shown up either as, the Barry Allen Flash from his show or even as, Jay Garrick on Stargirl. Just shows how much of, there is that buy-in there from the audience that people are willing to go along with it. If you do it well and, don't talk down to the properties or the audience themselves.
Here.
And there are moments when they will do that sort of thing and talk down to the audience, and it just makes it a clumsy moment. And the moment that sticks out to me is when they introduced Hank Henshaw in the Supergirl TV series, and they showed the glowing red eye, and he said, "I'm Cyborg Superman." I'm like, that line was so unnecessary, because people who don't know who Cyborg Superman is are only even more confused by him saying that, versus the fans who knew didn't need him to say it.
Yeah.
Am I making sense with this? Like,
No.
If you're going to put a wink and a nod into your audience, trust that they're going to catch it, and don't it's like a joke you have to explain to somebody. If you have to explain it, it ain't funny. If you have to explain an Easter egg, it's not funny or worth doing. It's just. But honestly, if
you should use your first name. I like that name, Robin.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm still rolling my eyes from that. They're still waiting to come back around my eye socket.
I love that movie. I do love that movie, but I am never come in defense of that moment ever. Anyway,
I like it too, but yeah.
Things that I would like to see in the Flash if they ever decide to make the movie, because I'm still not convinced. By the way,
stop it. Knock it off.
Introduce just by quick shot. You don't even need them to have like character moments or anything, but Batgirl, Blue Beetle, all these characters that they're doing for like HBO Max that are on the horizon.
Blue Beetle is now theatrical, FYI.
I know, I saw that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's important, because you got that big representation of, as far as I know, the first major Latino/Hispanic superhero. Big deal. It should get a theatrical release.
Yeah, I mean, that's great, but also you have great talent and a perfect design, so bring it on.
Yeah. I mean, Blue Beetle ain't my thing. Jaime Reyes is not like a character that I'm head over heels in love with or anything. I don't even really care, honestly, but I recognize the importance of that culturally, so yes, heck yes, do that.
Yeah, it's gotten to a point where I am willing to go along with any of these movies that they're announcing, just because it's like, who would have ever thought we would have gotten a Blue Beetle movie or an Aquaman movie? Come on.
It's the golden age of the geek. We are so spoiled by this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm even going to throw this out there. I've never in my entire life read a panel of a Shang-Chi comic. I love that movie. In case I haven't said it yet, that freaking movie was great.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Shang-Chi.
Yep, agreed.
I thought nobody was going to have the best bus fight of 2021, but Shang-Chi proved me wrong.
All right, we got 2 more emails. Let's get them done.
All right.
All right. This one's here's from our pal Ryan Lower. Damn it, I always forget. I'm so sorry, Ryan. And Ryan's awesome. He's been on this show. I love him.
It's actually pronounced Rian.
Oh. Yeah, Rian Al Ghul.
That's
Okay.
pronouncing the wrong thing.
Yeah, perfect. Sorry, Ryan. Anyway, he says, Batman Book Club. They're planning their own Christmas special. Check them out after you listen to this one twice. That's the rule.
That somebody else on this podcast might be on.
Are you
wink,
on?
wink.
You
I am
slut.
Feel bad now.
It's okay. It's Ryan's show, so I'm forgiving. You know, it's like if we're gonna share you, I'm glad we're sharing you with good people.
Yeah.
But
Jay is the Guy Milks of geekery podcasts. He's on everything.
well, there you go. When's that coming out, Jay? Let's just commit.
Oh, I'm not sure when you're releasing this. He said maybe Monday is when that show would release. So, you know, it kind of depends upon if it's in the future or the past.
Is it already recorded?
Yeah, we recorded it the other day.
So as we record, it's tomorrow then.
Well,
Yes.
I tend to publish this on Sunday night, so it might be out just before that one.
So I won't spoil what we're talking about, but yes, we are talking about a Christmassy, very Christmassy and holiday themed issue of something that may be related to Batman the Animated Series. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So it's Batman Noel is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
At least it's not Noel, because that would be really, you're like, yeah, I talked about this book twice in the same week.
Double dipping. Funny enough, I talked about 3 Jokers on here, and I was on like the Let's Go podcast live stream, like either a couple of days before or a couple of days after, and then just kind of, you know, talking about the same thing. So it was kind of funny how that worked out.
Oh,
Ate
geez.
2 times over here.
So, all right. Anyway, well, there you go. Look out for that Batman Book Club with Jay Yaws. Terrific. So anyway, here's what Ryan actually says. He says, seasonal question for the Wayne Manor mailbox. If Santa Batman showed up, what would he bring for Alfred, Robin, Batgirl, and Ace? Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Ryan. Thanks, Ryan. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you as well. So what is Santa Batman bringing the Bat family? Jamie?
Alfred, I feel like he's going to get him the keys to a... What kind of car would Alfred like? Alfred would like that car from, I think it's Dr. No, that James Bond Aston Martin, that silver one.
Mm-hmm.
That's also in No Time to Die, and at least one other Bond film that I'm thinking of. He would get him one of those because Alfred works hard. He deserves something nice, and Alfred would appreciate a gift like that. It's a little piece of home for him. Ace, he would get him a charred piece of body from one of the guys he killed in the BVS Batmobile chase. You know, dogs like a good barbecue as much as the rest of us.
They do.
Who else are we talking about?
Alfred, Robin, Batgirl, and Ace.
Well, Robin, it's really going to depend on the Robin, isn't it?
Probably.
It's Damien, the head of one of the guys that he mowed down in the
Perfect.
Everyone gets a body part.
Well, he could get Barbara a new spine at that point, too.
Oh.
What, too
Oh.
soon? Too soon?
Oh, wow.
Too soon. Sorry. My bad. That was uncalled for.
That it? Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm kind of stumped on that one.
All right. Jay?
I think the most meaningful gift that Batman could get Alfred is a day off. So I think he'd give him that. Ace, probably some sort of delicious treat and some ear scratches and maybe even belly rubs. You know, Ace is a good boy with
He's a good
simple
boy.
tastes.
Yeah.
With simple tastes, so just needs those scratches and belly rubs. Robin, did he say Damien specifically?
It just says Robin.
Oh, Robin. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean that depends upon which Robin. But Damien, I don't know. This is hard. I've always thought, man, it'd be fun to answer those Wayne Manor mailbox questions until you actually have to.
Yeah,
answer
it's
them.
real fun until you're on the spot, isn't it?
It's like, geez, that's hard. It's like, on Jeopardy, you're yelling at the screen. Why don't you know this? It's like, well, because they're under pressure and on the spot, and I am under pressure here.
He would get Damien a new sword and a gift certificate to Dairy Queen.
Yes, let's go with that.
Okay, all right.
I was gonna say a bat bull to go along with the bat cow, but that works too. And then Barbara. Oh man, I don't know.
Come on, Barbara's the easiest. A new MacBook.
Motorcycle.
Yeah, I'd say it might be one of the. I could see Batman in that moment being one of those gift givers that gives a very practical gift that is also very impersonal, like updating Barbara's firewalls and security software and everything, saying, there you go, I did that for you. But it's like, okay, great, but that's kind of an impersonal gift.
He renews her Microsoft Office subscription.
Her Norton subscription.
Or whatever. choose your favorite software subscription. He renews it, all of them. The Adobe suite. Happy birthday, Barbara.
We threw in Photoshop just for fun.
Right. Okay, so he gets Alfred a lap dance from Leslie Tompkins.
Hey, yo.
Yeah.
That's the gift that keeps on giving, boys.
Some old lady ass. Or a new vacuum. I can't decide.
Okay.
Like Alfred, it's getting a little dusty around here. A new feather duster.
New clotheslines because Dick ruined him when he was doing his whole sock kung fu thing.
This is true.
Forever.
Heck yeah.
This is true. All right, you guys picked Damien Robin. I'm gifting Tim Robin a bisexual flag, pride flag.
Perfect.
Just to piss off the homophobes. Batgirl, yeah. I mean, just choose whatever computer is the latest and greatest and most expensive. Like upgrade, yeah, for sure. And Ace, a new chew toy, because that is not a chew toy. All right. Santa Batman.
The reference was lost on me. I thought I had it, but then I was like, nope.
It went over my head too.
Really?
That's not it.
Oh. That was from The Grinch. Max the dog. That is not a chew toy. Oh, forget it.
Is it from the original Grinch?
No, it's the Jim Carrey version.
I see. I've never seen that. So.
What?
Well, you posted a thing in the group the other day saying that you didn't think the movie was great, but this moment was hysterical. And I watched what you said was hysterical, and I'm like, if this is the best this movie has to offer, I'm good.
Oh, how dare you? First of all, I like that movie. I just know a lot of people don't, and so I was trying to avoid the whole debate of like whether it's good or not, but it didn't matter because everyone still needed to comment with, well, I think it's garbage. And I was like, that is not the point of the post, but thank you.
Well, for whatever it's worth,
like
I did
that
go
movie.
seeking it out, but I'm not paying $15 to buy that, and I'm not. No.
What I posted was The Grinch's schedule, which is brilliant.
Moving self-loathing and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fun.
It's great.
And I'm also just back on the giving the Alfred a vacuum. I could totally see Lego Batman being a passive-aggressive gift giver.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
So I was just imagining, hey, they should come out with a Lego Batman short with Batman just giving people gifts, and it just ends up being household cleaning supplies, and him saying, hey, yeah, it's getting a little messy around here. I gotta go meet Gordon for some coffee. See you guys later.
We literally yesterday got a vacuum delivered to our house, and I believe it's from the mother-in-law, which it was a nice gift because we needed one, but like I was like,
what'd you get? Did you get a Dyson?
It's a Bissell.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe that's why the vacuum was on at the front of mind for Alfred. All right, we got one last one here, but I don't think there are questions in it, so that's great. It's from our old pal Stuart from Guernsey. It says, hey guys, it's Stuart. I just want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thanks for all the podcasts this year, and I can't wait for more next year. Hope you have a great time with your family and friends, Stuart. That's a great note to go out on. Thank you, Stuart.
Right on. Perfect end. Yes.
So, that's
Glad I
the
can
Christmas
take credit
spirit.
on my guest spot here.
Yes. So that is the Christmas spirit. Thank you, Stuart. Merry Christmas to you and Happy New Year to you and your family. I hope you guys are doing well and enjoying the season. And that's it for the Wayne Manor mailbox. So everybody out there, I hope you guys are having a wonderful holiday season and enjoying whatever it is you enjoy. Christmas comics, Christmas movies, specials, Christmas cards, probably too much junk food, but man, that's part of the fun. Christmas lights, all of the above. But it is a wonderful season, and Christmas is coming so quick, I can't believe it. So we are going to wrap up this very Christmassy episode of Holy BatCast. We appreciate you guys joining us, and I appreciate Jamie and Jay for hanging out. This is a long one for almost 3 hours talking about this stuff. So Jay Yaws, it's always a pleasure to have you back. Thanks for making the time, even amongst all your other podcasting appointments.
Yes, it's always a pleasure to be asked and to come back. So thanks.
Tell everybody where they can find you.
So like I said earlier, I'm going to be on. It's Lauer. I'm pretty sure.
Is it Lauer?
I'm pretty sure
Rian
it's
Lauer. Got it.
Yes, Rian Lauer.
Oh, I can never remember. I'm so sorry, Ryan.
It's Lauer spelled like lower, I think is what he says.
Yes.
So,
I'd never met Ryan face to face, but I also think he's one of those that's around my general area here too. I could be wrong about that, but I think he's one.
Could be. I don't know.
Anyway, I'll be on the next Batman book club that, like we said, recording. It's supposed to come out tomorrow. It'll be out sometime around here, so you can get, extra festive Batman cheer with me talking about Batman comics, which I always love to do. And you can follow me on Twitter, which I'm kind of taking a little bit of a sabbatical from, just because it's a lot. But my personal handle is @JAYAWS. And I do comic writing and posts and kind of jokes and stuff at Comic Pause, like you pause a video game, PAUSE. And I'm on the Real Fans group on Facebook. So, just find me there. We can connect, chat, have a grand old time. And Merry Christmas, everyone.
Nice. By the way, I did confirm when we lost Jamie on the call that the first time I talked about Batman Noel, it was on Everyone Loves the Drake. So I'm sorry, I forgot. Sorry, Rob. I love you too, but yeah, it's been 5 years. And
he's not inviting you back for the next radio drama.
I know, he's going to be so mad. He's like, you've forgotten so easily. It's been 5 years. A lot's happened.
Either that or when the next time he does one, he's going to make you be Damien.
Oh, well, I could do that. That's fine. I have range. But that was also part of why we waited so long to do it on this show, because I'm like, I had talked about it on Everyone Loves the Drake, and it just feels like, am I going to have different things to say? So now that it's been 5 years, and I don't even remember what I said on that episode, back in 2016, now I feel like it does feel a little more fresh. So anyway, it'll be interesting. I want to go back and hear what I said way back then compared to what I said now. Anyway, Jay, always a pleasure. Glad you could make it. Jamie, also always a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Anytime to get on here and chat with the holiday crew, and Jay's good people. I love talking to him on social media or on the mic here. It's good stuff. And everybody out there, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, belated, Festivus, whatever you do you, and do it to your best. And be good
we
to
forgot
yourself
to air our grievances, guys.
Oh yeah,
Dang it.
Then Festivus isn't over till Jay Penn.
We did that before we hit record.
That's true.
No one has to hear that.
Like I say, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and life will be a lot smoother.
There you go. Awesome. Well, thank you guys, and thank you everybody for downloading the show. We do appreciate it. Please do subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And as Michael Keaton's Batman says, I want you to tell all your friends about me. Visit holybatcast.com or find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. And again, check out all the other wonderful shows that are part of the network at rf4rm.com, and that includes our new pals over at Fan Fatales. Also, check out manscaped.com and use the promo code BATSCAPED, please and thank you. If you've got a message for the Wayne Manor mailbox for next time, you can send that to Holy BatCast at rf4rn.com. As always, a big thank you to Gaurav Venkateswar, who does our theme music. His work can be found at gvtunes.com. So on behalf of Jay and Jamie, I've been Andy. Thanks for joining us. And as Jamie says, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. We love you guys. We do appreciate your support and you listening, and we hope you guys are having the merriest of Christmas seasons. It is a wonderful time, so soak it all in, and we will see you before you know it. Where will we see you? Same place as always. Same bat time, same bat channel. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho.
Next week is Christmas. It's practically here. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
Ho, ho, ho. Got your Tannenbaum here. How about a little Christmas cred?
Jamie?
He just left, so I think I made him mad.
Oh, okay. Is he gone?
Yeah, it says Jamie Drewley left.
Oh my god, what the? He really did. He's like, to hell with this. I don't even want to talk about it. Maybe company came and he has to go do that. I'm re-adding him to the call. He's not getting away that easy.